Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode here of the podcast. It's been a little while since the last one, but both Nick and Nader and I have been busy, but we are back at it today, kicking off the month of April, which is a pretty big month sports-wise. Obviously, the NFL draft is this month, so you're going to get plenty of content on this channel. March Madness is heating up. We are approaching the Final Four. The MLB season is kicked off. The NBA playoffs are getting close, so there's a lot to go over today, and it should be a fun episode. Of course, as always, I am joined by Nick and Nader, if you want to say hi to everyone.
We are here and ready for Red October in 9 months.
Yeah, we've got a little while until that comes, but we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go over some storylines of the NFL offseason, and as well as the draft, which is only 3.5 weeks away. We're getting close. So, of course, NFL free agency has been happening over the past few weeks. All of the big guys are signed already, so there really aren't many super notable players left. We have a general idea of where all the big guys have gone, but I want to give some teams some love who have been a little bit more under the radar, who haven't necessarily been talked about a ton, who I feel like have done a pretty good job. So a team who has spent a lot of money, who I think has done a good job, is the Washington Commanders. New GM, new head coach. I like what they've done so far, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Adam Peters, the GM coming from San Francisco. That defense uses off-ball linebackers more than anybody, and that defense very heavily relies on Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, who, of course, is probably going to be injured this year in real life. But looking at the Washington free agent signings, they attacked the linebacker spot with Frankie Louvu from Carolina, who I think signed a bargain of the deal. And then Bobby Wagner, who isn't the guy he once was, but as a run defender, I think he's still pretty solid. I've been having Washington pick linebackers early in day two because I had a feeling they would kind of look that way. And, well, they've done so in free agency, so I guess I deserve half a point for doing that. Some of their other signings have been a little weird. They've gone for older players. I don't think Austin Eckler's got a ton left in the tank. Zach Ertz is like 35 years old. But I like what they've done on defense. They've improved the offensive line as well. Tyler Biadasz from Dallas, Nick Algoretti from Kansas City. I think they did pretty good there. I think the Houston Texans also had a really strong free agency. They didn't go after one of the big backs like a lot of people expected, but they did trade for Joe Mixon. They also extended him, which is a move that I don't really get, but he's going to be there for the long haul. I think he's got a little left in the tank, but wasn't the same guy he was in the past. But again, I really like what they did defensively. Danielle Hunter obviously is a big-time pass rusher, replacing Jonathan Grenard, who is replacing Danielle Hunter with the Vikings. Hunter is obviously really good, and pairing him with Will Anderson is going to be one of the scarier edge duos in the league. And then inside, I thought Danico Autry was kind of a bargain of the deal. I thought that was a really good pickup. Azeez Al-Shaair, I think, is a really good player. Both of those guys coming in from Tennessee. Maybe Jeff Okudah or C.J. Henderson, one of the former highly drafted corners, can possibly give you something. I think Minnesota's done a pretty good job as well. Obviously, they made the trade with Houston to move up from 42 to 22. I think that deal was a steal for the Vikings. And obviously, they're going to look to trade up. I think the reason why the Vikings did that deal is ideally they want to hold on to their first-round pick next year. If they end up moving to, like, say, pick 3, I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to that next year pick. But if they go up to only, like, 5 or 6, then I think they could package something with 11, 22, and something else smaller. But I think their free agency has been pretty solid. Aaron Jones, I still think, is quite good. I think he got severely underpaid compared to some of these other older backs who I think are worse than him. At quarterback, obviously, they're going to draft somebody. Sam Darnold's a fine placeholder. And then defensively, I think they've done pretty well. Jonathan Grenard, who we just mentioned, coming over from Houston, he's a really good player. Blake Cashman, also coming from the Texans, was really solid last year. Andrew Van Ginkel, I think, is pretty good too. And then the last team I want to shout out, I guess it's biased, but I think the Lions have done a really good job, and I think the biggest reason for that is how they managed the guard market. Jonah Jackson's obviously a good player, but he got a big deal from the Rams. 3 years, $51 million, and I feel like that's too much for him, especially considering his injury issues over the past season or so. And he was outplayed last year by Graham Glasgow, who was also a free agent, and we gave less than half of Jonah Jackson's contract to. Replacing Jonah Jackson is Kevin Zeitler, who's a more than capable starter. Offensive guard, or I guess offensive line in general, very well still could be an early draft pick for us, but it's not necessarily a necessity because we've got two proven vets there. Defensively, I think the DJ Reader signing was a bargain. Amik Robertson coming from the Raiders, I like his versatility. I'm kind of hoping he plays on the outside because I want to keep Brian Branch in the slot rather than move him over to safety. Carlton Davis as well, and bringing back Emmanuel Mosley, I think is really good for the cornerback room. I wouldn't mind drafting another corner early this year, but it's not a necessity. The roster doesn't have any clear as day needs other than maybe X receiver, but there are still some good receiving options out there, whether that's in the draft like Xavier Legette or Adonai Mitchell, or we go with a free agent. I'm confident that they know what they're doing with letting Josh Reynolds go.
There were a lot of teams that went and spent a lot of money this offseason, and I want to talk about the Vikings, but I'm going to try to do different teams. I'm going to start by being incredibly biased and start with the Eagles, who were extremely active this free agency. Howie is no secret to wanting to spend a lot of money and make a lot of big trades. And the biggest move that I think everyone's trying to talk about is the addition of Saquon Barkley into the Eagles offense. It feels weird to say that, even it's been like a month at this point since we've acquired him. I think the market for the running backs was a lot more active than I was realizing. We saw last offseason, we saw guys like Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs all get franchise tagged and kind of get stuck on the teams. And now they've all found new homes, and Saquon goes over to Philly, played ball at Penn State. He's a local kid. And I think this is a move that's going to help elevate this offense. Last season, we had Brian Johnson, who calls run plays every other play, all inside zone. Now we have Kellen Moore, who's still going to be running the ball. And I think with Saquon Barkley, that's going to help a lot because DeAndre Swift was great last season, but I think he could have been better given a better play caller. But I think Saquon Barkley is just a better player. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's a lot of money. His first-year cap hit is like $3 million. Granted, he goes up to like 14 or 15 next year. But at least for this season, we're paying $3-4 million for Saquon Barkley, who has been on one of the worst run teams, one of the worst run-blocking teams in the league since he's entered the league in 2018. And now goes to a team that's been top 5 every other year. Granted, we lost Jason Kelce, but Cam Jurgens, I don't think it's going to be Kelce, but he's going to be pretty good. And the only other addition we got onto the offense was Devontae Parker. That's something. I'm not going to mention Kenny Pickett. We're going to move on from that. But the defense has taken a major change. We brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Lions, spent big money to get a safety. It was no secret that we needed safety help bad. Reed Blankenship was a solid addition, but Kevin Byard wasn't all that good after we traded for him. Sidney Brown, as a rookie, was solid, but he tore his ACL at one of the last weeks of the year. So we knew going into the offseason, the Philly needed the secondary help. They went out, they got one of the better safeties in the league, and we know he's going to ball out. Last year he was here. He was, I think, second-team All-Pro. He was close to if he wasn't. We signed Devin White, who is some sort of a veteran linebacker. Now, he hasn't been all that great, especially in the run defense, but I think we can turn something into him, get Nakobe Dean healthy, get Devin White healthy. We'll see what we can do with that. We signed Bryce Huff to be almost the replacement for Hassan Reddick, as we traded him just a few days ago to the New York Jets for a 2026 second. It hurts my soul that Hassan Reddick has left Philly. I would have loved to keep him. He's probably the best edge we've had in at least 5 years. It's been a while since we've had that good of an edge rusher. But Philly runs with their D-line by committee. You still have Brandon Graham. You still have Josh Sweat. Bryce Huff is still really good and now gets to start. You get Nolan Smith, who's going to be able to start. You get Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the D-line. You get Milton Williams, who's going to be rotational. There's so many guys on this D-line to where if you have Hassan Reddick, a lot of these guys aren't going to be able to get enough playing time, and we want to get everyone in. And even though we don't have Hassan Reddick, I still think this is going to be one of the better defenses in the league. But moving on from Philly, probably my favorite offseason I've seen is from the Tennessee Titans, and they went out and spent a lot of money, and I am all here for it. They saw the Jags have a collapse towards the end of the year. They saw the Colts win 9 games with Gardner Minshew at QB. They saw the Texans go out and win the division with rookie C.J. Stroud. They want to get in this conversation. They want to give Will Levis the best opportunity to succeed. You go out and spend money on Tony Pollard. If you have him and Tajay Spears, you put Tony Pollard in sort of that Jahmyr Gibbs role, have Tajay Spears get some more carries than you would think. He's going to play really well. You pay a lot of money for Calvin Ridley to go alongside DeAndre Hopkins and Traylon Burks, and you have Chicago at tight end, get a lot of guys going for Will Levis to throw the ball to. You get Lloyd Cushenberry to come in and play center. They paid a lot of money for him. They want to help fix his O-line, and you could go out and go draft a Joe Alt or Olufashanu and continue to help this O-line for Will Levis. And you help spend a bit of money on the defense. You went out and signed Chidobe Awuzie to be your corner one, and then a week or two later, you go out and you trade a third for L'Jarius Sneed, who's now automatically your CB1. So you have a really good secondary with Sneed and Awuzie. You still have some younger guys you might try and see if they can come up and do something. You have Monty Hooker and Elijah Molden in the secondary, who are both young, nice guys. You're still looking for a bit of pass rush, still looking for a linebacker or two. You sign Kenneth Murray, but that's not the greatest of linebackers. But I think if you get the defense a bit of help, then this team could honestly be really good, especially if Will Levis is able to pan out. And you get Brian Callahan to be the head coach and be the offensive play caller. And I think he's going to be able to help Will Levis become the best player that he can be. And by getting guys like Pollard, Ridley, and Cushenberry, that this is going to help him be the best player that he can be. And the defense can play average. They could go out and win a good amount of games. I don't know if they're going to win the division now, but I think they're going to be great. The only other two teams I want to mention, I want to bring up the Falcons. They got Kirk Cousins. That's the big get. You get a wide receiver 2 in Donald Mooney. You even get a receiver 3 in Rondell Moore. You spend a little bit on the defense here and there, but not really too much. Just trying to get some depth guys more or less. But the big addition is Kirk Cousins, and getting him easily makes them the favorite to win the division. They could easily go out and win 10, 11 games. We saw the Vikings start out 0-4, but you saw Kirk Cousins playing probably one of the best QBs in the first half of the season until he got hurt. He was ridiculous. If the Vikings could have won, say, 10, 11 games, he might have won MVP. I know it's a big statement, but he was electric. He was still top 15 in stats playing, 10 games? So you get him with Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. This is going to be a fun Atlanta offense, and I cannot wait to watch this happen. And the Carolina Panthers go out after winning 2 games, having one of the worst offenses ever. Dave Canales is not afraid. Dave Canales wants to win now, wants to spend big, and boy did they. They went out, they traded for Deontay Johnson to get a new receiver for Bryce Young. You still have Adam Thielen, you hope Jonathan Mingo can turn into something, and you spend money on the O-line. The biggest issue with this offense last season was the O-line. You spend $100 million on Robert Hunt, one of the best guards in the league. You spend some money on Damian Lewis to get another guard spot filled. You hope that Taylor Moan and Kia Kwanu can kind of be something. That's 3 or 4 O-line spots that you feel comfortable with going into the season. Austin Corbett is an all-right center. Maybe you try and upgrade there. But now you have 2 good receivers, 2 serviceable receivers in Johnson and Thielen. Some young guys like Mingo to try and maybe pan out. And you've fixed the O-line relatively. The issue then becomes the defense. You lost your corner 2 in Dante Johnson. I got there. Dante Jackson. I got there. You traded away Brian Burns, which is probably a question mark after a few years ago not trading him for 2 firsts. I know it's a different regime, but still, I would have liked to see them try and keep Burns, but I think they knew they weren't going to be able to get much for him and weren't going to be able to sign him. So at least you got a second. So now you have 2 seconds since you don't have a first. You do sign Jadeveon Clowney to somewhat replace him, who Clowney's been fairly good, and after being on the Ravens last year, he might be able to come out and do something. You still have Derek Brown. You let Jeremy Chin go, your best safety. So the defense now needs help. But you have probably, in my opinion, the best defense coordinator in the league with Tajiro Rivera, and he's going to be able to turn these guys into something. Go out, draft some studs, draft another receiver for Bryce Young, draft an edge piece, maybe a corner for the defense. And I think they could do something. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think the Panthers have a lot going for them, and I think they're starting to have a lot of hope going into the next season.
Before we take a look at the NFL draft, there's one more team I briefly want to bring up. I really like what the Jets have done. You mentioned with Hassan Reddick, they added 2 really good tackles with Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. And now instead of forcing themselves to pick an offensive lineman at 10, they have more flexibility. They can add one of the pass catchers. They could still pick a lineman. I would expect them to go for a win-now pick, being that Aaron Rodgers is very old, though. So next position group we're going to be looking at for this year's NFL draft class is the big boys up front. Edge rushers and interior defensive linemen. So we'll start with the edge rushers. Certainly a talented group at the top with probably 4 or 5 guys who go in the first round. I don't think it's an overly deep group, at least compared to where I feel like the consensus is. But it does seem like there is a clear top 3 for most people in some order. Of this top group, I think Dallas Turner from Alabama would be my best guess to be the first one off the board. Really good length, really good explosiveness, highly productive over the last few years in the SEC at the University of Alabama. And if I were to bet on any defensive player in this draft to be the top defensive player picked, I think I would lean towards it being him. Atlanta at 8 would make a ton of sense. Chicago at 9 as well. And really anybody after that I think could absolutely be in play for Dallas Turner. But there are a couple of guys who are pretty much right behind him. We'll start with Jared Verse from Florida State. He was a little bit of a late bloomer. He was really good in 2022. Could have been a first-round pick. Could have been probably a top 10 pick last year. But he decided to stay in school. The year started off kind of slow for him, but he really played well down the stretch. Tested well at the combine. And I think his size and length is also really good as well. 6'4", 260. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger than Dallas Turner. Doesn't necessarily have the quickness that Turner does, but I think he's a really good player across the board. And then we've got Laiatu Latu out of UCLA, who I feel like is the most polarizing of the group. In terms of collegiate production, I mean, his numbers over the past 2 years have been off the charts. He is the most productive defensive player in this year's draft class, but he's a little bit of an older prospect. He's been in school for a while. Obviously, the medical is a question mark. I don't think teams are going to be terribly afraid of the medical, but that very well could pop up as an issue. His athleticism compared to some of these other guys is also subpar, which could lead to his stock going down. I do think that he is a translatable skill set. I'm not sure he's ever going to be an elite pass rusher, but I think he's going to be a very good one as soon as he gets drafted. So the real question for me is, who is the next group of edge rushers after that top 3? Because there's probably about 10 different players who you could put in just about any order. The notable ones for me start with Darius Robinson out of Missouri. He's a little bit of a tweener, but he's versatile, highly productive, great at the Senior Bowl. I think, at least for my team, the Lions, I think he would very much be in play. So he's a guy who I certainly really want to see where his stock ends up being over the next month or so, because I think if I were to pick one person to predict who would be the choice at 29 right now, I'd probably guess him, although there's probably 25 players that could be. Chop Robinson from Penn State is another interesting one. He's a little bit raw, but he's got all the physical tools to be really good, and I think some team picking in the top probably 40 or so, maybe even in the first round, is really going to fall in love with him. Jonah Ellis from Utah, I think, is really good. I've been high on him for a while. Another versatile defensive lineman, another super productive pass rusher. He doesn't necessarily have great length or elite athleticism, but I think he's a high floor player who's going to be very good at the next level. Marshawn Nealon from Western Michigan is another guy who I think is pretty underrated. He is a tough player, really good motor. He's been very productive over the last few years, really good pass rusher and run defender who has improved each and every season of his career. And then looking down the board, there are a few sleepers. I like Mohamed Kamara a lot out of Colorado State. He's been really good for the last couple of seasons for the Rams, 20 sacks over the last 2 years. He's a little bit undersized at 6'1", 250. He certainly lacks those high-end measurables, but I do think that he'll be able to overcome his size and be a good player. Xavier Thomas is another interesting one out of Clemson because once upon a time he was a very highly regarded recruit. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field, but when he's been healthy, he's shown flashes. He played the entire season this year and was pretty solid. He's a guy who could be a better NFL player than he was in college. And then the last guy that I want to look at is Javon Solomon out of Troy, another guy who has the production, 17 sacks this year for the Trojans. Another guy who isn't necessarily an elite athlete. He doesn't necessarily have great length, but he knows how to get after the quarterback, and I think he's going to have a long NFL career of being a solid edge rusher.
Yeah, this D-line class is definitely a lot more top-heavy, I feel, than it's going to be bottom heavy. I think specifically with the edges, like you mentioned, there's going to be those top three guys with Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, and the Atula 2. I definitely feel like I think that some of these guys might fall. I think for a while people were saying, oh, Dallas Turner's going to go probably in the later half of the top 10, probably somewhere from like 8, 9, or 10 or so. But I think now teams are going to want to go out and they're going to get the QBs. They're going to get the high-end receivers, get the high-end tackles. Maybe even a corner goes in the top 10. And I think we could see guys like Turner and Verst fall outside of the top 10 and go to one of these middle teams in the high double digits, to the 12 to the Broncos, 13 to the Raiders, and the Saints and Colts. I think would be great guys to go out and get these players here. I'm a big Latu fan here. I think he reminds me a lot of Joey Bosa, and I feel like he's gonna come out and he's got one move, but that one move is ridiculous. He wins every single rep he gets whenever he uses that move. He's not going to be able to outspeed you. He's not even going to be able to power you. And his reach, you would wish his arm length was a little longer. But he just wins so often, even without the speed, without the strength, without the reach. And he's just going to keep on winning and going. And I think there's some games where he's not going to be able to make an impact whatsoever. And there's going to be other games where he gets 4 sacks. And if you can get a guy to go in and get double-digit sacks in a game multiple times, that's going to add up. And you're going to get 10 double-digit sack seasons. And I think that's what he's going to be able to bring. I think Turner and Verse are definitely more high-end, high-ceiling kind of guys that I think are definitely going to go ahead of Latu. And I think both of them are going to be maybe even higher floors with higher ceilings. And I think they're definitely going to be the first 2 edges to go off the board, wherever that ends up being. And I think almost immediately we're going to see Turner and Verse be some of the better edges year 1, week 1. But later down the line, I don't think we're going to see many, if any, go in the first round after those 3. And I think the most likely one is probably going to be Chop Robinson. And I think that's going to be because the team is going to want his upside. He's the stereotypical like Ravens edge, where high upside, very athletic, and the Ravens just always turn these guys into Pro Bowlers. We've seen them get guys like David Ojabo. We've seen them get guys like Odafe Oweh, and they're going to continue to get these guys. They've made impactful players out of Jadeveon Clowney, and I can't even think, but an old Patriots linebacker that had like 13 sacks this year. My brain's blanking on his name, but they turn old guys into Pro Bowl level players. And if they can do that with guys who are 33, why not do it with a guy who's like 22? And I think Chop Robinson is a guy who you can come in. He's probably not going to start day 1, depending on where he goes. But if you can get him in, start getting to learn a little bit, he could have a presence in the backfields. You mentioned the other Robinson, Darius. I think he's a guy you could maybe even have play at DT. But I think he could definitely play outside the edge. He's nearly 300 pounds. He's got a lot of force behind there, a lot of muscle going on. So we'll see what he can do when it gets to the league. Chops, Penn State buddy, Adisa Isaac, probably the opposite kind of player that Robinson is. I think Isaac has a very high floor, a little bit lower of a ceiling. But I think if you get him, he can immediately be a rotational edge, get roughly 6 to 8 sacks in a year. You can probably do that year 1. And if you can get that guy in like the 3rd round, that's not bad at all. Braylon Trice is a guy that I have been raving. I think he's probably my edge 4 right now. He's 6'4", 275. He's a little older of a prospect, but he was one of the better defensive players for Washington when they made their run to the national championship. And he's got a lot of power behind his fairly good arm length. And I think his stock has kind of fallen a little bit. I think teams are kind of weary of him a little bit. And I think he's definitely going to be able to go round 2. And if he can go to a team that can develop edge, then he's going to be something really nice. And the other 2 people I want to mention are the Murphy twins, Gabriel and Grayson at UCLA. Both of them are basically the same height and weight at 6'3", 260. And I think both of them are very similar players. I don't think they're going to go to the same team. That'd be cool. But I think both of them they don't have as much of a physical presence with speed or strength. But I think both of them have a lot of different pass rush moves that they'll be able to go out and perform well on. Opposing of the other UCLA edge too, with his one move that just wins. I think both these guys have a lot of different ways that they'll be able to beat whoever they're against, the guard or the tackle, whoever it may be. And I think both of them are able to come in and be phenomenal, specifically against the run. And I think Gabriel is probably the higher end prospect, being better at just getting to the QB. And I think if you bring in specifically Gabriel, he's going to come in and he's going to be like an 8-sack guy, I feel. Maybe not year one, but I think both of them are going to be really good. Gabriel's going to be probably a higher player on my board. But Grayson as well, I think he's going to be a great run defender, specifically at edge. And if you can get a guy to get double-digit TFLs in a year, that's great.
All right, let's shift our attention inside. And I feel like the conception is that the edge rushing class is better than the interior defensive line class. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think there's a very clear top two with Byron Murphy and Johnny Newton in that order. I think those are probably the only two guys who should and will go in the first round. And we'll start with Byron Murphy, who might be pound for pound the most intriguing defensive prospect in the draft. This is somebody who is dynamic, he is a giant, and he is a game wrecker. I see a potential ceiling of Dexter Lawrence with him, which I know feels high, but I think that's the type of upside that you're looking at with Byron Murphy. And then with Johnny Newton, he's a little bit undersized, but he's been very productive over the last 2 years. One of the best defensive players in the country since 2022. He doesn't necessarily have the athleticism or the explosiveness that Byron Murphy has, but he's really not that far off. In terms of depth, I actually think there's a lot of it here. I think there's a handful of guys who are going to be picked on day 2 and even early day 3 who end up being pretty good. Braden Fisk from Florida State has been phenomenal during the pre-draft process, dominated at the Senior Bowl, great at the Combine. I don't think he ends up in the first round. I think it's possible, but I would say it's kind of unlikely. Chris Jenkins from Michigan is a guy who I've liked. Not necessarily one of the big names on that national championship team, but he's a really impressive athlete, good run defender, and I think there is some pass rushing upside. Rook Oro from Clemson's a pretty fun player. He's versatile, pretty solid as a pass rusher, and he's a good run defender as well, along with being a plus athlete. Brandon Dorlus from Oregon's an intriguing player. I think he's got some nice athleticism. He's a little bit of a tweener, 6'3", 290. He's played a lot of edge with the Ducks, so he's got experience wherever you want to play him inside. And then I think looking at some of the guys projected to go on day 3, there are some really good players here. Christian Boyd from Northern Iowa has been phenomenal for the Panthers, or the Golden Panthers, whatever their mascot is, over the last couple of years. He looked really solid at the Shrine Bowl against better competition, and I think he's a guy who's going to go earlier than people expect. And then the LSU duo, Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith, 2 more guys who I feel like haven't been talked about a lot, who I think are going to be really good. Mekhi Wingo is somebody who has really good explosiveness coming through the middle of the defensive line, and I think he's got a really high ceiling. He's shown a lot of upside as a pass rusher. And then Mason Smith as well, not as good in the run game as a guy like Mekhi Wingo, so he's a little bit more inconsistent in that regard, but another really good athlete, another guy who's got a very high ceiling. He was a very high recruit not too long ago, so I think both of those guys could end up being really solid. And there are some more higher floor guys in this group as well. Dwayne Carter from Duke, I think, is going to be a pretty good player. Maybe not necessarily a superstar, but I think he's going to be pretty solid. T'Vondre Sweat is a fun player, 6'4", 360-ish. On a good day. This is a large mass of a human being, certainly more of a nose tackle, and his stock has kind of fluctuated all over the place. He was the bigger name compared to Byron Murphy on that Texas team during the year. Murphy appears to be the better NFL prospect, but T'Vondre Sweat as a run-stopping nose tackle, I think, could carve out a pretty solid role for himself in the NFL, especially if he's able to manage the weight.
Just like the edge, I feel like this is another position group that doesn't have all that many depth. I do think, of course, there's going to be players down the board that teams are going to like, that even I like. But besides the top 2 or 3 guys, I feel like a lot of these players we're not going to see get drafted for a little bit. Those main 2, of course, being Byron Murphy and Johnny Newton. I've been back and forth between who I think is better within the 2, but I think both of them are phenomenal. I think there's talk where we might see a guy like Byron Murphy go in the top 10, maybe to, say, the Falcons or the Bears. Both of those guys need DT help kind of badly here. But I do think both of them are going to be phenomenal going into the season. I think Byron Murphy is definitely the more pulverizing, athletic guy. And I think Johnny Newton's going to have maybe a bit of a higher floor. But both of them are going to be phenomenal day 1. and I'm really looking forward to see where they go, to see kind of what situation they get in. I think if the Dolphins specifically can get one of these two guys to replace Christian Wilkins, that'd be phenomenal. Braden Fisk is normally the third DT that people are going to talk about. He had a phenomenal combine. And he's risen up people's boards quick, 6'5", nearly 300. He's got all the attributes that you want out of a D lineman, and you could probably move him over, kind of be like a inside DT, maybe even put him on the outside, because he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the power to kind of go in and go up against a center, a guard, tackle, whatever you want to have him go against. But after that, this class kind of falls off down the drain. T'Vondre Sweat I like a lot. I think he's going to be one of the better run-stopping DTs in the league, similar to your Jordan Davis or maybe your rookie Vita Vea. I think he's got that giant size of his is going to just help him. It's exactly what Jordan Davis has done. And T'Vondre Sweat tested really, really well at the combine, especially for his size. And I think he's going to be a force basically day one that people are just going to be too afraid to run at him at all. You mentioned Chris Jenkins. I think he was pretty good, especially for the natty run. And the one guy that I think I really like going down the board is Leonard Taylor III out of Miami. He has some of the most athletic ability, I feel, in this DT class. He's got the power, the speed, all of it. 6'3", a little over 300 pounds here. I would love to see him go round 3. What? I thought I said something.
No, I didn't say anything. Keep going.
But Taylor has some of the most high-end athletic ability out of this entire class, and I think he has one of the higher ceilings of probably upwards of those guys who are going to go round 1. I could see him be one of the better DTs out of this class, and if a team can get him round 3, maybe even round 4, then it'd be a phenomenal pick. And you mentioned the LSU duo. Both Wingo and Smith are great. You still have Jordan Jefferson. He's going to be a little later, probably like around 5 or 6 guy. And I think he's going to be fairly solid. He's 6'4", or a little over 300. And I think he's got the size to come in and start off as a pretty good run stopper. And if he can develop those pass rush skills, I think you can come in and get a guy who gets double digits TFLs, maybe a few sacks here and there. And that's all you can really ask for.
All right, so with that, we'll shift our attention to the MLB season opening day. Last week, we'll be going through our final previews and predictions for what we expect will happen in the 2024 season. So before we announce our official predictions for this upcoming season, we do have one more division that we have to go over, that being the National League West, which I think is going to be one of the more interesting divisions in the league. I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that the Dodgers are going to win the division and the Rockies are going to get last. What I'm most interested in is 2 through 4, and I think those teams could go in just about any order. If I had to guess now, I still lean on the Diamondbacks being second. I think their roster is too much young talent to expect them to step back from last year. Rather, I think we can assume they are going to get better with all the young guys that have got on that roster. Corbin Carroll taking another step up. Geraldo Perdomo's a guy who I really like. And then the pitching, with the addition of Jordan Montgomery late last week, the final Scott Boras client finally off the board. Montgomery's coming off a great end of the season last year at the Rangers, having helped them win the World Series. And their rotation's looking pretty solid. They added Eduardo Rodriguez. Of course, they've got Zach Gallen. They've got other young guys there like Ryan Nelson and Brendan Pfaadt. I think that's a really nice 5. One of the deeper rotations in the league. And assuming the lineup is going to continue to improve and take another step up, there's no reason to think this team should not win at least 85 games. The San Francisco Giants, to me, are one of the more interesting teams in the league, with late additions of Jorge Soler, Matt Chapman, and Blake Snell, which all should certainly help their chances of winning games this year. Their rotation may be the most top-heavy in all of baseball, with Logan Webb and, of course, Blake Snell, who are 2 legit Cy Young contenders. It's not an overly deep group. The Giants are going to need Jordan Hicks to prove that he is a good addition to the rotation after being a relief pitcher his whole career. They're going to need Kyle Harrison as a rookie to be a productive player right off the bat. And then the lineup, I'm really intrigued by this group. They lack star power per se, but with the additions of Chapman and Soler and Jung-Hoo Lee, there's a real shot that those 3 guys end up being San Francisco's best position players, along with young guys like Thairo Estrada taking a leap and other solid veterans like Wilmer Flores, Mike Yastrzemski, etc. Then we get to the San Diego Padres, who have also had a busy offseason, but not so much for the right reasons, losing Blake Snell to their rivals, trading away Juan Soto. They've obviously got a ton of star power. Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado might be my two favorite players in baseball, and for that, I am on the Padres bandwagon this year, but I don't necessarily believe in them to do all that well. The rotation is not deep, the bullpen is not deep, and although the roster has some really impressive high-end talent in the lineup, the position players are not deep. Their outfield is a disaster. They're certainly going to need Jackson Merrill in center field, the talented rookie, to have a big year. They pretty much have 8 shortstops playing the field, with the lone guy who isn't a true shortstop when they acquired him being Ha-Seong Kim, who is playing, you guessed it, shortstop. I don't think it's necessarily an awful strategy because generally those guys are the most athletic players on the field, and boy, do the Padres have a lot of impressive athletes. But I am curious to see if some of their veteran bats are going to do better than last year, and if their lack of roster depth is going to be an issue. So for that, if I had to say right now, I think it's Diamondbacks 2, Giants 3, Padres 4. But again, I could see those teams all finishing in about any order, and I could see all 3 of them making the playoffs in some group, whether it's one of them or 2 of them, probably not all 3 of them together. But I would be shocked if at least 1 to 2 don't get in.
This division has been pulverizing, to say the least, for the past couple years. We had the Dodgers win a lot of games, only one Mickey Mouse ring to show for it. The Giants are one of the better historic franchises. They had their dynasty in the early 2010s. Padres are the champions of free agency, I guess. The Rockies exist, and the Diamondbacks just made the World Series, got a pennant win. And I see a lot of teams, a lot of people trying to say, oh, Giants are going to win 85 games, 88 games. Padres are going to win 95 games. I think this is going to be one of the more cut and dry divisions, I feel. We're going to see the Dodgers win 100 games. They're going to be the first team in this division. The Rockies are terrible. They're going to be last. I think they're the worst team in the league. And there is some sort of discussion between the D-backs, the Giants, and the Padres. I don't see it with the Giants or the Padres. I think the Diamondbacks are going to win at least 85 games. They're going to be second in the division. I don't see a reason why they take any step back unless injuries happen or they just hit a rough patch. I think Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, Lourdes Gurriel, Jerome Perdomo, Christian Walker, they're all going to be fine. They're going to be really good, continue what they started last year. And you talk about the Giants and the Padres, I just don't see it. I can see it in maybe a year or 2, but right now I just can't right now. With the Giants, besides Logan Webb and Blake Snell, you don't have a rotation. That unless someone steps up, that in rotation is not it right now. And the hitting core is not all that. Matt Chapman was an all-star level player for the first 2 or 3 months and then fell off like a cliff. And he's known for his glove, but he just had his worst fielding season last season. So his glove is getting worse. His bat has been average his entire career. So Matt Chapman is an interesting guy here. And a lot of the rest of this hitting lineup is just not there for the Giants. They don't have a lot of star power. I know 2021 they won 100 games with Brandon Bell and a bunch of nobodies. But I don't think it's there anymore. I could see them win like 80 games, maybe get above 500. But realistically, I don't think they make the playoffs. The Padres, I am not on the bandwagon. I am completely off. I am derailing the entire situation. You have Joe Musgrove, who's good. You have Dylan Cease, who is not all that good. Did he get to a top 3 Cy Young 2 years ago? Sure. But last year, he had a near 5 ERA. He had an abysmal season last year. I'm going to be honest. And which Dylan Cease are we going to get? Are we going to get the guy who was top 3 for Cy Young and had one of the best pitchers in the league? Or are we going to get a guy who was a top prospect and couldn't pan out? Which one are we getting? That's the big question. And who else in that rotation do we trust? Do we trust Michael King, who's been a reliever his entire career until the second half of last year? Do we trust 39-year-old Yu Darvish? Who are we trusting in this lineup? And for the lineup, you have Fernando Tatis. You have Manny Machado. You have Xander Bogaerts, who all 3 of those guys mostly struggled last year. I think Tatis was pretty solid. He won a Platinum Glove, which is something to say the least. But between those 3 guys, I think they're going to play better. We're going to see Ha-Seong Kim, I think, continue to be one of the better shortstops in the league. But besides those four guys, they don't have a lot of hitting. I think their catcher right now is Luis Campusano, who has not panned out. You mentioned Jackson Merrill, who needs to step up, but I don't know if all four of those guys are going to be able to step up. And even if all four of them do, I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think Kim and Tatis are relatively, at this point, I feel like the same kind of level. They had a very similar season last year for both of them. Machado just did not play well last year. Bogarts was one of the worst signings last year, I feel. They spent such big money, forced Tatis to play outfield, and Bogarts is already over 30, and this contract might still be going by the time he leaves his team. I'm not in on the Padres, not in on the Giants. Rockies are awful. It's going to be Dodgers 1, D-backs 2. I'm going to say Giants 3, Padres 4, Rockies 5, but I don't think Giants or Padres are making the playoffs, and I am hoping I'm kind of wrong because Padres in the playoffs will be fun because Tatis, Machado, all those guys are fun players, but I don't think it's going to be able to happen.
All right, so with that, it is time for the moment of truth, our 2024 MLB predictions. We're going to start by going through the AL divisions, then the NL divisions, then the playoff results, followed by the awards. So I'll kick things off with the American League, and I decided to go kind of off the rails in all three divisions. We're going to start with the American League East, and for me, this really came down to two teams at the top, the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. And I was a little bit surprised to see the Yankees higher than Baltimore in the betting odds, which is interesting because I'm going to side with the odds and pick the New York Yankees. I think their lineup is going to be dangerous this year. They had the best 1-2 punch in baseball with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Probably the second best. I guess probably some combination of the Dodgers' big threes probably ahead of them. But other than that, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge are two top 5 hitters in the game. Having those guys together, I think, is going to be a big deal. My one question with the Yankees, though, is the rotation. Garrett Cole is hurt. He's on the 60-day injured list. How long will he be hurt? Who knows? The rest of the rotation leaves a lot of questions to be desired, but if their pitching rotation can be average and their lineup can produce, Judge and Soto play like MVPs, guys like Anthony Volpe take steps up, Anthony Rizzo plays well, Giancarlo Stanton isn't a liability, Grisham and Verdugo have talented offensive seasons, and we know those guys are primarily defensive guys, but they have had good offensive seasons in the past. If the pieces come together for the Yankees, I think they will win this division. Although I will say, if I were to bet on one of these teams to win the World Series, I think the Baltimore Orioles have the higher ceiling. They've got more young talent in the lineup and the rotation. And if everything clicks for Baltimore, I think they've got a better chance of winning it all than, say, if everything clicks for the Yankees. In third place, I've got Toronto. Their lineup didn't really change. Their rotation didn't really change. They were in on some of the big free agents, but ended up getting none of them. And their team is pretty much the same as it was last year. The Rays are in fourth. A lot of people are lower on the Rays this year, and I agree for the simple reason that, I mean, for one thing, they don't have Wander Franco. But secondly, their pitching rotation is very hurt. McClanahan, Rasmussen, and Springs are all out probably for a majority of the year. That's a big loss. Those are probably their 3 best pitchers, and the rest of the rotation, they've got some young guys, but they're relying on younger players like Taj Bradley, Shane Baz, maybe Ryan Pepio, to all take a giant step up. And then the Red Sox are in 5th. They're not awful, but the other teams are just better. AL Central, I was torn between two, the Twins and the Tigers. I don't want to be the guy who's overly biased, but I am in on the Tigers this year. I think Detroit had a sneaky, really good offseason, and that starts with the additions to the rotation. Jack Flaherty and Kenta Maeda, 2 solid veterans. Flaherty's an interesting one because he's not the same guy he once was earlier in his career with the Cardinals, but if Chris Fetter, who's one of the best pitching coaches in baseball, can fix him, then look out. Kenta Maeda did not have a good first start over the weekend, but he's been a solid pitcher in the past over his big league career, and there's no reason to think he can't be a solid 4 or 5 in a rotation with a lot of young talent. Of course, headlined by Tarek Skubal, who going into the offseason seemed like everybody's sleeper Cy Young pick, but now he's not a sleeper anymore. He's second in the AL Cy Young odds. He was arguably the best pitcher in baseball during the second half of the year last year after coming back from injury, and he is a bona fide ace. As for the lineup, we're relying on young guys to step up, but I think this is going to be the breakout year for Riley Green. I think he's going to become a full-on star. Spencer Torkelson, I'm not as high on for this season individually, But if he can have similar production to what he had last year and improve his contact a little bit, then he'll be a plus player. Guys like Kerry Carpenter and Jake Rogers, if they can take leaps, that would be a big deal. We added some solid veterans to the lineup. Mark Hanna, I think, is a pretty good player. Along with him, guys like Gio Urshela, he's a solid vet too. But what really excites me about this team is the potential of some of these young guys. Colt Keith, who's been called up to the big league level. He is a big-time prospect, one of the best offensive prospects in baseball. Parker Meadows in center field. He's going to be pretty much an everyday guy for the most part after playing a little bit at the end of last year where he looked pretty solid. And then other guys like Andy Ibanez, who's really turned out to be a fine player. Zach McKinstry is a good utility guy. Could we get production out of guys currently in the minors like Jace Young or Justin Henry Malloy? I think if this lineup plays at an average level and the rotation is able to hit its ceiling, the Tigers are going to be really, really good this year. But I don't think their ceiling is as high as Minnesota. Even though I have the Tigers winning the division, similarly with the American League East, if somebody from this division wins the World Series, it's going to be Minnesota. The thing with them is health. Royce Lewis, really good player, cannot stay healthy, and he's already injured and probably out for the next month or so. Byron Buxton, really good player, cannot stay healthy. Carlos Correa, really good player, but has a lot of medical question marks himself with the issues in the 2022 offseason where he failed 2 physicals. They're going to be relying on younger guys in the lineup like Edward Julian and Ryan Jeffers to play well. As for the pitching rotation, I think it's a solid group. Pablo Lopez, I think, is really good. Joe Ryan, I think, is really good. But what are you going to get from the other guys? Is Bailey Ober going to take a leap up? Who else is going to be able to produce behind? So I like this Minnesota team. I think they've got the most talent in the division, but health is an issue. If Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, and Carlos Correa each play 125-plus games this year, then I think Minnesota is going to win the division. But I'm not so sure that's going to happen, which is why I lean towards Detroit. In third place, I've got Cleveland. They're solid. I like their pitching, but their lineup is pretty bad. The Royals in fourth. They spent some money in the offseason, but I don't think their roster is as well-rounded as Detroit's. And then in fifth, we've got the White Sox. The AL West, I think, is maybe the most talented division in the league. I don't think people realize how good the Rangers roster is, though, as we talked about in the AL West preview. Once DeGrom and Scherzer are healthy, that rotation is unbelievably good, and not to mention the lineup. Wyatt Langford, the 3rd overall pick from Florida, already on the opening day roster, and joining him is Evan Carter, who might be an even better long-term prospect. Carter is younger. He played really well at the end of the regular season last year. He played really well in the playoffs. How many 21-year-olds do you find batting 3rd for World Series teams? Not many, but Evan Carter is the exception to the rule. If this Rangers team stays healthy, they are not only going to win the division, but I think they're going to be the favorite going into the playoffs to repeat. In second place, I've got the Seattle Mariners. Their pitching rotation might be the best in baseball. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller. Great group. In terms of position players, obviously led by Julio Rodriguez, who I kind of hate to say it, but I think he's become a little overrated. He wasn't all that impressive last year, minus a really good stretch towards the middle of the year. I'm still very optimistic for his future. I think he's going to be one of the top 4 to 5 candidates for MVP in the AL. But I don't think he was all that impressive last year. I think he's going to take a big step up this year, though, as one of the best all-around players in the game. We are going to need to rely on the Mariners having some of their other players who have been inconsistent to produce. Cal Raleigh is going to need a big year. They've got, in right field, Mitch Haniger coming back. J.P. Crawford's going to need to play well. Luke Raley, Jorge Polanco. These guys need to produce. Ty France as well. But if most of those guys are able to play to their talent level, then I think the Mariners could win a World Series. The Astros in third place, I think their roster isn't as good as it's been in the past. They're starting to get a little bit older as a group. They got swept in 4 games by the Yankees. I'm not going to panic with them yet, but I think the Rangers and Mariners have passed them slightly, and then the Angels in fourth, the A's in fifth. Not a whole lot to go over there. As for my seeding for the American League, Rangers 1, Yankees 2, Tigers 3, and then my 3 wild cards in order are the Mariners, the Orioles, and the Astros.
My American League predictions, they're a little different, but a lot of similarities here. I'm going to start with the AL East, and I'm all in on the Orioles. They won 100 games last season with a not-so-very-good rotation. You have Kyle Bradish and, Kyle Gibson? That's it? Now you add Corbin Burns, who is a Cy Young contender. Kyle Bradish ends up finishing third or fourth, I believe, for Cy Young voting. And you still have one of the best hitting groups in the entire MLB. You also get Grayson Rodriguez for now his sophomore season, trying to get him more consistent in the league. And I don't see a reason why they don't win at 100 games at this point. I'm not as high on the Yankees as everyone else is. I think their rotation is going to be a little shaky. Garrett Cole's on the 60-day IL. Nestor Cortez is not all that good. Carlos Rodon, he might be able to come back and do something, but we'll have to wait and see. And besides Judge and Soto for the Yankees, I'm not high on really any of these hitters. We could see someone step up like an Anthony Volpe to kind of break out after a somewhat disappointing rookie season. But every year that we see Aaron Judge get hurt, which is quite often, the lineup flunks, the lineup does not play good, they miss the playoffs. It's the exact thing that happened last year. Aaron Judge got hurt for a majority of the season. The Yankees, their lineup stunk the bed, and they missed the playoffs. The year before, Aaron Judge plays the entire season, and they made the playoffs, and they win the division even. So they're pretty good with Judge in the lineup. But if Judge is not in the lineup, you have Juan Soto, and that's about it. Now, Juan Soto, again, top 5 player in baseball, one of the best in the game, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep up with the Orioles and maybe even keep up with the Blue Jays. I don't know what it is. I got a feel about these Blue Jays. I think Kevin Gausman is going to be really good. Again, I think we might see Alek Manoah kind of come back and maybe not play to his ceiling, which was top 3 for Cy Young, but I don't think we're going to see him get auctioned down to AAA again, or even single A for that matter. And I think the rotation is going to step up, and I think while they do have basically the exact same lineup as last season, they somewhat underperformed last season. I think Vladdy's going to come back and play closer to his ceiling like we saw in 2021, where he was an MVP if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani. And we see guys like Bo Bichette, George Springer, and all of those guys play up to their potential, and they might go out and win 85, maybe even closer to 90 wins. And I think it could realistically happen. I have the Rays in 4th. I think they're still going to be good. I think they're going to be over 500. But it's a really good division, and with their pitching just bad or with injuries, like the main guys in McClanahan, Springs, and Rasmussen all hurt. Shane Baz, 15-day IL. Taj Bradley, 15-day IL. Their top 5 of their top 6 pitchers gone. They have Zach Galfin, they have Aaron Savale, so they have a really deep rotation looking at it. But most of their guys are all injured. The rotation is a bit to be desired, but it's the Rays, so everyone's going to hit 350 and 400 home runs. But realistically, I don't think it's going to be enough. And the Red Sox aren't too bad. I think they'll finish not too far below 500, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So I have the Orioles winning the division with the Blue Jays in 2nd and the Yankees falling behind in 3rd. The AL Central, I get the Tigers have a bit of upside. And I think they're going to be really good, but just not yet. I'm not ready for it. I need them to go out and show me that this lineup can do something. Because we have seen time and time again the rotation stink all year long. I want to see these young guys, Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, Parker Meadows, Kerry Carpenter, I want to see them step up and show me that they can go out and win games because of the bats. Now, the pitching should be phenomenal. Tariq Skubal is one of the best pitchers in the league and going to be a runner for Cy Young. Matt Manning's really good. I think Jackson Jobe's in the majors by now. I'm not too sure. But whenever he is, if he's not, he's going to be phenomenal. But I just don't think they're ready yet. I do have them finishing 2nd ahead of everyone else besides the Twins. I have the Twins winning the division. They won 90 games. They relatively stayed the same, but I think they'll just continue what they did last year. And we'll see if the Tigers can do something, but I just feel like they're not ready just yet. I think you might have to add a bat somewhere or just show me that those guys can produce and progress in their development for me to be confident in you guys winning a division, even if it's the Central. I have the Guardians finishing 3rd, and I think the Guardians are one of those pulverizing teams in this league. I think they could easily win this division, and I almost picked them to win the division. But I'm just not ready for it yet. I think their bats are a little low, and I need to see the pitching be good. I want to see Shane Bieber come back and be his 2020 self. I want to see Tanner Bibby take another step up after a great year. I want to see Gavin Williams come up. But in that lineup, you have J Ram, you have Josh Naylor. That's kind of it. Andres Jimenez had a disappointing year last year after signing the big extension. And if we can see guys like Josh Naylor, see Bo Naylor step up, and J Ram to continue what he does, eventually I think we'll be able to see what comes of them. And I think if they play to their ceiling, they could easily win this division because it's the AL Central. But I don't think they're ready yet. The Royals are similar to the Tigers in the sense they have a lot of young guys that they could go out and do something. But again, I'm not ready for it yet. Bobby Witt's going to go try and win the MVP. I feel like he's ready to do that this year. I think Brady Singer's going to come out and show us that he can be the ace for this team going forward. And we're going to see guys like MJ Melendez and Vinny Pasquantino come out and be really good players. But again, they're not ready yet. And the White Sox suck. Luis Robert, please leave. You don't need to be here. Go to, I don't know, the Orioles. That'd be fun. And the AL West, since we talked last time, the Rangers have fallen a little bit on my stock for them. But they're still going to be really good. When you get Jacob deGrom back, probably a little after the All-Star break, he should be phenomenal. And if he's healthy going into the playoffs, look out. Max Scherzer was a little bit disappointed last year, but I still think he's got it in him. But my only issue with them is this rotation, in that they played to their ceiling last season without failure. They didn't win the division. The Astros still won, but they got the last laugh in the playoffs. But I think they need someone else to come in and be that ace. You lost Jordan Montgomery, and I think they're going to have to go out and make a trade for someone. I don't know who it would be. I thought Blake Snell might go to them because he wants a ring after missing out in 2020, and why not go to the Rangers and be their ace? But at this point, that's gone. So I'm not sure who they could go out and get. Dylan Cease got traded. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that would be like the next best guy. Maybe go out and try and get Brady Peralta or something. I don't know. That's my first thought. But I think they need a little more starting rotation guys. Their bullpen's great. The bat's phenomenal. Wyatt Langford is here. And Evan Carter is phenomenal. So they're going to be just fine rotation-wise. But I think they need one more arm of that rotation to truly be the team that they think they can be. But I still think they're going to win the division because I think the Astros are going to take a major step back. The rotation, I think, is probably on par with the Rangers. That's saying a lot because Verlander's gone. You have Framber Valdez to be your ace, but Jose Urquidy's hurt, and everyone else I either can't name or they didn't progress to where they wanted to be going into 2023. Why would they in 2024? I think the lineup is slowly starting to get worse. You do have Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, Jose Altuve, who are all all-star level guys, and a few of them are MVP level guys. But I'm not sure if the lineup's going to be able to compete with the Rangers or compete with the Mariners. I think the Mariners lineup is going to be at its peak. We're going to see Jose Ramirez. Jesus Christ, I'm off. We are going to go see J-Rod. That's who he is. We're going to see him play up to what we all know his peak is. That's an MVP level player. We're going to go out. We're going to see him. He's going to go get a 30-30 season. He was a home run shy of 30-30. He's going to go get that. He's going to hit 285, 290. He's going to hit a lot of bombs, a lot of walks, a lot of runs. He's going to be phenomenal. That's my point. And with him, and if the rest of the lineup can play up to their potential, they're going to be phenomenal because I think they have easily the best pitching everything in baseball. Their entire lineup, I looked at like 4 of them for Cy Young contention. That's 4 rotation guys for Cy Young contention. No, what? Share some with the rest of us, Mariners. Like, come on. Let Logan Gilbert come be a Philly or something. I don't know. But they have so many guys in that rotation that I feel like they're going to win every game like 3-1 or like 2-0 because their rotation and bullpen are just that good that I feel like they're going to be in all year, that they're going to be better than the Astros. The Rangers are too good. But I think it's going to be Rangers 1, Mariners 2, Astros 3, the Angels 4, A's 5. Who cares? Mike Trout, please leave. And don't let it be the Mets because they suck. But my final word for playoffs, I have 1 Orioles. They're winning 100 games. 2 Rangers. They might get 100, but I'm not sure. 3 Twins. They won the AL Central. The 4, 5, 6, I think, was the hardest for me to choose. I looked at the Yankees. I looked at the Blue Jays. I looked at the Tigers. I looked at the Mariners. I looked at the Astros. That's 5 teams, 3 spots. For the 4 seed, I have the Mariners. I think they're going to be phenomenal. I think they're going to have 3 or 4 guys to sign contention. At 5, I have the Astros. I think they're too good to not get in the playoffs. I predicted basically the Warriors' downfall before it happened. The Astros are starting to get there, but not yet. They're not there yet. And 6, I have the Blue Jays sneaking in. I have the Yankees missing the playoffs. Tigers don't get to their upside. And I think the Blue Jays are going to be able to play up to their ceiling and sneak in as that 6th seed.
All right, let's move into the National League. We will start with the East. Rather than going crazy like I did in the American League, the National League is a little more chalky, although we get really weird in the Central. So in the East, it's kind of as expected. Braves 1, Phillies 2. I think those are the only 2 good teams in that division. I don't think, unlike the Yankees, the Mets are going to have a rebound year. I still have them at 3. Washington I have at 4. I don't think the Nationals are as bad as people think. They were pretty solid down the stretch last year, so I think they're going to be a decent team. And then the Marlins come in 5th. They started the year off poorly, getting swept at home by the Pirates. I think this could be a rough year for them. In the NL Central, this is where all hell breaks loose. This is the one division where any team can win it. Any team could be in first place. Any team could be in last place. I wouldn't be surprised if I picked teams out of the hat, and that order was more accurate than the one I have here. But my order for the NL Central is Pirates, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, Reds. I don't feel good about it at all. We'll start with the Pirates. I think that they had the most upside of this group, and this is banking on them hitting that ceiling. Mitch Keller in the rotation has shown a lot of flashes over the last 2 years. He's finally turned into the player he once was. They're going to rely on other guys to step up. Could we possibly see one or both of Paul Skeens or Jarrett Jones called up to the big league level? And if those guys are good as rookies, then this rotation could be really good. As for the lineup, again, we're banking on a lot of things happening. Brian Hayes, can he take a leap offensively? Brian Reynolds, will he have one of his good seasons or one of his lesser seasons? O'Neal Cruz, can he stay healthy? And if he does, can he hit his maximum talent level? The Pirates need a lot of things to go well, but I think a lot of these things ultimately will happen. In second place, I've got Chicago. The Cubs were a team that I was kind of lower on for most of the offseason, but really going through their roster, they've got a really well-rounded group. Justin Steele is a legit ace. Shota Imanaga looked awesome in his debut today. I think he's going to be a more than fine number 2. Kyle Hendricks is solid. Could they get one of their young guys to possibly contribute in the rotation? That would certainly be helpful. And then their lineup is pretty deep. Dansby Swanson's a good player. Cody Bellinger's back. Seiya Suzuki could take a leap up. Christopher Morel's really good. So I have a hard time thinking that the Cubs aren't very competitive, and they probably have the highest floor in this division. In third place, we've got the Cardinals. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish higher than this because they've got probably the most high-end talent, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish lower. They're an older team who has a lot of guys showing signs of age. Nolan Arenado is probably not the player he once was. Same can be said for Paul Goldschmidt, who's 36 years old. Their rotation is old as dirt. Sonny Gray is still quite good, but everybody else there is old and mediocre. But I'm kind of banking on these veterans all kind of coming together and producing and not taking a gigantic fall from grace. The Brewers I have in 4th. They've been the best team in this division over the last few years, but they're not as good as they've been. Corbin Burns is gone. Brandon Woodruff is hurt. They've got some really fun young guys in this lineup. Obviously, Jackson Chourio, I think, is going to be a star right off the bat. William Contreras is one of the more underrated players in the game. Christian Yelich is really good, but the roster as a whole is just kind of blah. And then the Reds at 5th is a little bit of a surprise. And again, this team has one of the higher ceilings of this division, and if they win it, I would not be surprised at all. But I have a lot of questions about the pitching. They've got a lot of younger guys here who they need to step up. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, all very solid, but are any of those guys going to really take a leap up this year to where they are a consistent top-of-the-line starter? They lack depth after that. Frankie Montas got the start on opening day. He was pretty good, but can you trust him to really produce? And then offensively, my question with this team is, did a lot of the younger guys last year kind of maybe not peak a little bit, but they outperformed expectations to where they take a step down this year? TJ Friedel got MVP votes last year. Do I think that's going to happen again? Probably not. Matt McClain and Spencer Steer, were guys who significantly outperformed expectation last year. Are they going to stay at that level? I'm not so sure. Ellie De La Cruz, I think, will get better this year. I'm very excited about him, but he has a lot of weaknesses to his game. Are those going to be fixed this year? I don't know. So because of that, I have a lot of questions about the Reds. If they win the division and Pittsburgh gets last, I would not be surprised in the slightest, though. I don't feel good about my NL Central picks, but I think that's what I'm going to roll with. And then out west, we already talked about this division earlier, so I'm not really going to go into detail, but Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Giants, Padres, and Rockies. As for seeding, Dodgers 1, Braves 2, Pirates 3. As for my wild cards, I've got the Phillies in 4th, the Diamondbacks in 5th, and then the last spot, I was down to the Cubs and the Giants. But I think the Cubs roster is a little bit better, and I trust them just a little bit more. That's why I had them making it over San Francisco by 1 game at the end of the year.
I'm going to jump right in to my NL picks, starting in my division, the NL East. As much as I would like to be biased and say the Phillies are going to be able to be above the Braves, and I think they could, I'm not going to pick them to. The Braves are going to win 100 games. They're going to be probably. I feel like they're going to be the second best team in baseball, probably right behind the Dodgers or the Orioles, one of the two. Those three are probably easily the top 3 guys. But the Braves are going to be 1, Phillies are going to be 2. I think the Phillies, this is the year, if they could, to get above the Braves. But if this first series showed anything, is that we're not ready yet. We always start slow. We got destroyed by the Rangers last season on the opening week. And, I mean, we at least won a game against the Braves. We started like 0-7, 0-8 last year, and we still won 90 games. So, who knows? But I still think the Phillies have a shot. But I think we're going to see guys like Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh kind of play up and play better than one would think. We get to have Bryce Harper for the entire year for once. That means Kyle Schwarber doesn't have to play defense, and that's the best thing that anyone can ask for because it is abysmal watching him play defense. But the Braves are the Braves, so they're going to win the division. I have the Marlins getting 3rd. I don't think they're going to be very good, though. I just think the bottom 3 teams in the East are all not that good. I think the Marlins pitching is going to carry them, kind of like what I was saying about the Mariners, except the Marlins don't have a good lineup. I have the Nationals getting 4th. I do think that their guys are going to kind of step up, and we're going to see a lot of these young guys that they got specifically from the Juan Soto trade come up and play pretty damn well. And I have the Mets finishing in 5th. I think they are going to be abysmal. They have one of the worst rotations in the league, and you have, 3 good hitters, I feel? You have Francisco Lindor, who's been an all-star player since you got him. You have Pete Alonso, who's going to strike out 3,000 times and hit 40 bombs. But he probably gets traded at the deadline because this Mets team is horrible. And I really like Francisco Alvarez at catcher. I like him a lot. But again, not enough to actively go out and win games, let alone playoffs. So, for the East, Braves, Phillies, Marlins, Nationals, Mets. The NL Central, what a division this is. It's going to be a ride, and I think there are 4 teams that could really go in this division. There's one team that I'm going to be the biggest hater on all year, and I'm going to wait for it to happen. But I do have the Cubs winning the division. Am I confident in this? Not in the slightest. But I do think they have the lowest floor, and that's the only reason why I'm picking them. I think the rotation is going to be fairly good. Justin Steele did get hurt during his start, but it's not for too long. We saw Shota Imanaga. He played really well. I think Kyle Hendricks, Jordan Wicks are going to play pretty well. You'll get Jameson Talion back in 15 days or so. I think the bullpen's pretty good. Albert Alzolay kind of broke out last season. You still have Drew Smyly, Hector Neris, and I think a lot of those guys are going to be good. And I think the rotation is going to play pretty well. Nico Horner, Michael Busch. I like Nick Madrigal. Christopher Morel starting over at 3rd. Dansby Swanson's going to be a near all-star guy. Ian Happ, another all-star guy. Cody Bellinger got MVP votes. We'll see what he can do. Can Seiya Suzuki kind of break out and be what we all thought he was going to be when he signed here? And we'll see what they can do. And I think they're going to win the division, not by a lot, after they derailed at the end of the year and almost got the 6th seed. But that's who I have winning the division for now. I have the Reds in 2nd. I almost picked them to win the division because I'm all in on these young guys. I know you fear with the pitching. I feel confident about this pitching. I think they're going to be really good. Frankie Montas, I think, is going to be a serviceable guy, but he's not going to be the ace. That ace is going to be Hunter Green. Hunter Green, I think, is going to have his breakout year, and he's going to be phenomenal. If there was a breakout award, I'm giving it to Hunter Green. I think he's going to be electric. I think he's going to get Cy Young votes, and I think he's going to be amazing. We saw Andrew Abbott come in as a rookie last year, and he played really well. I think he's going to be a great third or fourth guy in this rotation. And while Nick Lodolo is currently hurt, he can come in and be basically their second pitcher ahead of Montaza and in place of where Nick Lodolo would be. I think when Lodolo comes back, he's going to be another really good player. I think he has all-star capability. I think it'll be more next year, specifically because he's only hurt. But I really like Lodolo. I really like Hunter Green. I think Montas can be serviceable as a 3 or 4 starter. And Andrew Abbott can continue what he did last year. Why not keep it rolling? I think I mentioned this earlier with the Rangers. I think if the Reds go out and get a pitcher, they are going to be really good. And I think they could definitely become what the Orioles were a few years ago, kind of what the Diamondbacks were last year. Have an electric lineup, basically win games with your bats alone. And as long as the pitching can be serviceable at best, you can win games. You can win a little over 80 games, and you can sneak in the playoffs. I think that's what the Reds are going to try to do here. And I think a lot of the younger guys are going to step up. I think Tyler Stevenson's one of the better catchers in the league. We're going to see Christian Encarnacion Strand play really well. They signed Jimmy Candelario in free agency. Spencer Steer played really well. Jonathan India is one of the better contact guys in the league. He's probably going to get traded at some point. And I think Ellie De La Cruz specifically is going to take a major step up. Matt McClain right now is on the 60-day IL. So we're going to see Ellie play shortstop, his natural position. And I think he is going to be phenomenal. He had an amazing month or two, and I think he's going to do similar to that basically all year. He's not going to be an MVP or anything like that, but I think he's going to be an all-star. I think he's going to be amazing. In third, I had the Pirates. I like what they have going on. I don't think they're ready yet. Similar to the Tigers, they have a lot of young guys. I need to see them kind of come up. We've been saying O'Neal Cruz has this MVP ceiling. Let him stay healthy. Let him show us that he has that in him, and I'll be ready for it. I had the Cardinals in fourth. This is a team that I think could easily win this division, and that's if the pitching plays serviceable. Sonny Gray plays like it did last year, and we see Arenado and Goldschmidt and their second baseman, whose name is blanking right now. It'll get to me. If their lineups can play up to potential, their pitching can be serviceable at best, they can win 85 games to win the division. Because it's the NL Central, who knows? Alright, it's hating time because the Brewers are up. Because their lineup, abysmal. You have Christian Yelich, who's fine. You have Jackson Chourio, who I really like, but he's a rookie. Is he going to hit a rookie wall, or is he going to play like J-Rod? We'll have to wait and see. And, who else do they have? They have Willie Adames. He's going to get traded by the deadline. There's no way this team doesn't sell. I really like William Contreras. He's one of the better offensive catchers in the league, but he's a catcher. You can put him at DH, but he's going to have off days. He's not going to be playing as much as a lot of the other guys. I like Rhys Hoskins a lot, but he's in his 30s, and he doesn't have the bat that he once did. And, again, Willie Adames is going to get traded. Christian Yelich is over 30. I don't trust anyone else besides maybe Jackson Chourio, who, it's a rookie. Again, how well is he going to really be? I like him a lot, but is he going to go out and win a Rookie of the Year? Is he ready to do that, or are they just going to give it to Yamamoto and just call it a day? I hate the pitching at this point. You got rid of Corbin Burns. You brought back, I guess, Brendan Woodruff, who isn't going to play this year. And besides Freddie Peralta, who's been their third guy forever, he can still be an ace, I think. We'll see. The rest of the rotation is DL Hall, a former top prospect who's like 25 now, Colin Rhea, Jacob Junis, and Joe Ross. For a team that has been one of the pitching factories in baseball, that is an awful rotation, and I don't think even the Brewers can fix it. It's going to be an awful lineup, awful rotation. They let one of their best managers in a while go to their rival, the Cubs, so what's going to happen? I don't think they're ready to win anymore. I think they're calling it a day, and as soon as they traded Corbin Burns, I think everyone should have been realizing the Brewers are selling. They are selling hard, and as soon as they signed the lease to that stadium to keep it, that's when I think I realized, it's rebuilding time. Corbin Burns is gone, and Adames is going to be next. The NL West, we went over this. Dodgers 1, D-backs 2, Giants 3, Padres 4, Rockies 5. Calling it a day. Seating wise, 1, I had Dodgers. Their lineup is too good. Braves 2, the lineup is too good, but a little worse. And I have Cubs 3 for winning the NL Central. And 4, I have the Phillies. I think they're gonna win 90+ games, and they're gonna win good. 5, I have the D-backs. They're gonna win 88 games or so. They're gonna get in easily. And then 6 is gonna be a toss-up. It could be the Reds. It could be the Giants, but I'm going to stick with the Reds. I think they have the offense, and they're going to sneak in that 6th seed. They nearly got it last season. I think they're going to sneak in and get it this time.
Alrighty, now it's time for the good stuff. Our playoff predictions. Let's start in the American League. 3-seeded Tigers against the 6-seeded Astros, and the Tigers season will move on. In my imagination, I had them losing to the Houston Astros. The Astros have been there. They've done that. I think it's going to take the Tigers a little bit to fully be ready for the playoff atmosphere. I think it's going to be a big year for us, but I don't have us winning a playoff series. And then the other wild card series, the Mariners and the Orioles, who these teams really should not be playing in the wild card round. I feel like they're both too good to be matched up with each other this early in the American League playoffs. But I am all in on the Mariners. I think the Orioles are absolutely a top 3 to 4 team in the American League, but unfortunately for them, they lose in the wild card round. As for the National League, the Pirates and the Cubs, the 2 teams in the NL Central facing off, and I think I'm going to roll with the Pirates. I don't know what it is, but I just see those young guys on that team all taking a big step up. And I had them winning in the wild card round. And then the Phillies and the Diamondbacks rematch. I had the Phillies getting their revenge. They'll move on to the next round. In the division series, number 1 seeded Rangers get upset by the Seattle Mariners. I am all aboard the Mariner wagon. I love their rotation. I think a lot of those guys in the lineup, as I talked about earlier, are going to perform better than they did last year. And I had them upsetting Texas. As for the other matchup, Yankees and Astros, 2 bitter rivals, I am rolling with the Yankees. I understand the concerns about this roster, but I kind of see everything clicking for them, and I had them moving on to the ALCS. As for the National League, the Phillies have beaten the Braves 2 years in a row. Unfortunately for the Phillies, they are not matched up with the Braves. They have to play against the Dodgers, and ultimately the power of friendship will not prevail. I had the Dodgers winning, and then the Cinderella run for the Pirates will come to an end. They lose to Atlanta. So now we're down to 4. In the ALCS, Seattle and New York, I'm sticking with the Mariners. I see it with this team. You need to get a hot pitching staff in the month of October, and I think their rotation, again, might be the best in baseball. It certainly has the highest ceiling. I think their bullpen is going to be one of the best in the league as well. As long as some of those middle relievers can produce, they've got a really good group in the back end with Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, and Gregory Santos. As for the National League, the unstoppable force meets the movable object, the Braves and the Dodgers. I just feel like there is something with the Braves this year where they just have something to prove. After losing early 2 years in a row in the playoffs, I had them beating the Dodgers and ultimately beating the Mariners in the World Series with Ronald Acuna winning the World Series MVP. I feel like Acuna has a lot to prove, being that he was not on the team who won the World Series a couple years ago. That was the season he tore his knee. So he has not technically been on a World Series champion, even though he does have a ring. So I feel like he's got a lot to show, and I feel like he will show it, and the Braves will beat Seattle in the World Series.
A lot of my picks, I feel, were a little chalky. I had the Cubs winning a division. I had the Yankees missing out. I am all in on chaos. It is the MLB playoffs. It is the best playoffs in sports, unless you count, the World Cup? I don't know. But I'm ready for chaos. In the American League wild card, we have Twins, Blue Jays, a rematch of the wild card last season. And I think the Twins are going to keep it rolling. We're going to see Royce Lewis, assuming he's healthy, play amazing as he does, and show that he kind of owns the Blue Jays, and they're going to roll out and win some games there. And I have Mariners, Astros, division for the wild card game. And I think the Mariners pitching is going to be too much for the Astros to handle, and they're gonna get the win. The Mariners are going to come, and they're gonna go out. They're gonna get the home field advantage against the Astros. I know the Astros play really well when they're on the road, but I think the Mariners are going to have their number all year long. In the National League, 3-seed Cubs, 6-seed Reds, another division here. I think the Reds are going to be all in. I think Hunter Green's going to show out and be the ace that he's been able to show. The offense is going to be phenomenal. And as a 6th seed, they're going to start showing up kind of like the D-backs did last year, just full throttle down and just keep it going. They're going to beat the Cubs. Phillies D-backs rematch of the NLCS last year, and I think the Phillies are going to get the rematch they wanted, and they're going to get their get back on the D-backs. Into the ALDS, I have Orioles over the Mariners. I think the Orioles offense, now they have finally been in the playoffs. They get the atmosphere. They understand. They have the home field advantage. And they're going to just rock it on whoever the Mariners throw at. I think it's going to come down to probably 5 games here. But I think the Orioles are going to be able to keep it rolling. And Rangers, Twins, I have the Rangers coming in. They're going to show up, show out. And they're going to just kind of bully the Twins. I feel like besides Pablo Lopez, I think everyone else is going to get rocked by that Rangers lineup. And then in the NLDS, Dodgers versus Reds. What a series this is going to be. Dodgers are the kings of divisional chokes. And what else would be best for finally Shohei Ohtani to be in the playoffs and to enjoy the Dodgers special? I have the Reds upsetting the LA Dodgers in the playoffs to move to the NLCS. Shohei Ohtani is stunned after he, Mookie, and Freddie Freeman combined for 7 hits in the 5-game series. I don't know. But I have the Dodgers getting upset by the Reds. They are pulling a D-backs. They are going all in. They're pulling a Phillies from 2 years ago. The 6th seed always wins in the National League, baby. And the Phillies, they get what they want. They want to play the Braves. They kind of have the Braves number in the postseason. They're going to keep it going, make it 3 times in a row. They're going to go into Atlanta. They're going to win 2 games, come out of it. Red October is here. They got the rematch against the D-backs. They beat the Braves. And they're going to keep it going. They're going to find the Reds in the NLCS. And they're going to beat the Reds. They're going to stop the Reds, slow down. And the reign of the National League always being the 6th seed ends with the Phillies not upsetting. I hope we're not the underdog for the Reds. But they're going to beat the Reds and move on to the World Series. 2nd time in 3 years they've done it. And in the American League, the 1 and 2 seed Orioles, Rangers. I have the Orioles getting the over the Rangers. I think their lineups are about equal on par. I just think the Orioles pitching is going to be better. I think Corbin Burns is going to pitch probably 2 games in this series, maybe even 3. He's going to be phenomenal. And the Orioles make it to the World Series for the first time in I don't even know how long. And that brings us an Orioles-Phillies World Series. And I could be biased as much as I want to be, but God, this Orioles team is so good. And as soon as they got Corbin Burns, I was all in on this team. Their hitting is phenomenal. Their pitching is going to be really good. Kyle Bradish is really good. We're going to see Corbin Burns go out and try to win a Cy Young. And I think the Orioles are going to beat the Phillies in the World Series, call it 6 games. World Series MVP goes to Gunnar Henderson. Postseason MVP goes to Adley Rutschman. And all these young stars, all the blonde boys, they get their ring.
All right, now let's take a look at the awards. I feel like a lot of my picks were kind of bold, but for the awards, I went mostly chalky. So for each award, I gave a long shot prediction with it. We'll start with the American League. My MVP winner comes from the New York Yankees, but maybe not who you would expect. I am the biggest leader of the Juan Soto fan club. I think he is this generation's version of Ted Williams. I think he's going to very well maybe be the best hitter of this generation. But I don't know if he's the best hitter on his team currently. Aaron Judge is my pick to win the MVP. Obviously, he had the historic 2022 season. And last year, he was playing 95% as well. He just had the big injury to where he missed a lot of games and never really was in the running. But now he doesn't have to worry about Shohei Ohtani being in the same league. I think he's the best player in the AL right now, and I think he's going to win the award. My long shot prediction at 25-1 odds is Kyle Tucker with the Houston Astros. I feel like he's been kind of slept on compared to some of the other guys on that roster, and I think he very well could be their best player this year. As for the Rookie of the Year, everybody's given all the love to Wyatt Langford with the Texas Rangers, but I'm going to go with his outfield teammate, Evan Carter, who I think is a little bit farther along. Wyatt Langford a year ago was in college at the University of Florida. Evan Carter, meanwhile, maybe not a year ago, but 6-7 months ago, was batting third in the World Series. There's levels to this, which is why I lean towards Carter. I don't feel like there were any great long shot picks in the American League, so I went with Junior Caminero at 15-1 odds. If he gets through the minors quickly and is called up by the end of April, which I expect he will be, I think he's going to be really good with the Rays, and it's going to certainly hurt a little less with losing Wander Franco. As for the Cy Young, this is probably one of my bolder award picks, but I have it going to Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twins. While I don't have the Twins making the playoffs, Pablo Lopez had a really underrated season last year. I think he's going to take another leap up. And then my sleeper here at 40-1 odds is Nathan Eovaldi with the Rangers. DeGrom and Scherzer are both hurt. Jordan Montgomery is gone. They're going to need someone to step up. Nathan Eovaldi is a guy who time and time throughout his career has stepped up in the big moments. He is quietly one of the best playoff pitchers of this generation. And I think he's going to have a big regular season for a Rangers team who needs him to step up. As for the NL, I hate to be super chalky here, but Mookie Betts is my MVP pick. Through the first 6 games of the year, he has been unbelievable. My sleeper pick at 50-1 odds is Michael Harris with the Braves. Plays a great defensive center field. I think he's going to be one of the best contact hitters in the league. I think he's going to have one of the highest batting averages, be amongst the NL leaders in hits. And if he can hit for decent power with the other aspects of his game, he's going to absolutely be in the 7 to 8 WAR range at least, and thus in the MVP race. As for the Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Jung-Hoo Lee of the Giants. Yoshinobu Yamamoto has taken a little bit to get going through spring training. His first start was bad. His second start was really good, though. But I lean towards Jung-Hoo Lee, who's been really good at the professional level already. He was better in spring training than Yamamoto. He's looked pretty good so far in the big leagues. I might be a little bit biased now that I'm a big Jung-Hoo Lee fan because he is basically Jesus in the Giants series. But I'm going to make him my pick, and my long shot choice, maybe not a sleeper name, but Paul Skeens at 20-1. I think he's starting the year in AAA. I won't be surprised to see him get called up pretty soon. If he does, and if he's able to produce for a Pirates team who I think is going to, of course, significantly overperform, I think the Paul Skeens whole thing with him being a great major league pitcher is going to happen earlier than people think. As for the Cy Young, again, I hate to be boring. Spencer Strider seems like the runaway favorite, and he will be my choice. My sleeper pick, again, rolling with the Pirates, 40-1, Mitch Keller. I think he's going to take a leap up this year. I think he's going to be an all-star, and I think he's going to be in the top 3 to 5 of the Cy Young voting at the end of the year.
There is so many different routes that I could have gone with. And just like you, I have a few, maybe not quote-unquote long shots, but maybe like a dark horse candidate people aren't going to be looking at. For the MVP, I'm going to start in the American League. This is a little chalky, but I think they're going to be probably the best bats in the league. I'm going to give it to the reigning World Series MVP, Corey Seager. He's going to get his first MVP, if I'm correct. And my little dark horse, I'm going to say Mike Trout. Mike Trout has started to hit his decline. I think he's going to show up. He's going to be the starting center fielder in the All-Star game. He is going to be amazing, and he's going to show that age is just a number. Wander Franco, there's a joke there. You get it. But Mike Trout's going to be amazing. He's going to be an MVP conversation, and I want him to show that he can still do it and that he should get traded and leave the Angels and go to the Reds. That'd be cool. For the National League MVP, there's so many different players I could have gone here. Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. I could have gone Bryce Harper and been biased. I'm not doing any of that. When you have a player who has been pitching and hitting for multiple seasons now, and now he only needs to focus on one of them, why wouldn't he improve on that stat? So Shohei Ohtani, not having to pitch this year, can focus on hitting. I think he's going to have maybe the best hitting season he's had in his entire career, and it's going to win MVP. You could say, going into the season, I thought, oh, he's not pitching. That gives everyone else a chance. That gives Bryce, Mookie, Freeman, Acuna. They all have a chance to win MVP. Nuh-uh. Shohei Ohtani, he getting 3. He should have 4-peated by now. He should have 3-peated this past season. He's going to make it 3 total now. I'm going to shout out Taylor De La Cruz, he's got a lot of odds, but if I have the Reds going on this major run, it's going to be because of two guys, and one of them is going to be Taylor De La Cruz. It was hard for me to find like a dark horse kind of candidate for that. Basically anyone on the Cubs, maybe Christopher Morel. You want to throw that name out there? But again, I'm just going to Shohei Ohtani. For the Rookie of the Year, there's a lot of different names that could have gone out there. I think the National League has a lot more names. I think Yamamoto is probably the favorite. I know I hate the Brewers at this point, but Jackson Chourio looks like a star in the making, and I am ready for him to come out. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. And even though they finished 5th in the division for me, I think they're still going to suck. I do want to shout out Shota Imanaga. I think he's going to be maybe even the better pitcher, Japanese pitcher. I think they're both Japanese. Close enough. My point is he's only better than Yamamoto. That's my whole point. I think Yamamoto is a bit overrated. I want to be a little hesitant on him. Give him a minute. We've seen guys like say Suzuki come in and take a minute to start being good. And I think Shota Imanaga is going to be really good. Yamamoto's going to be great too, but I think we're going to see guys like Imanaga be phenomenal. And for the American League, I really wanted you to do Wyatt Langford. I went Evan Carter too, because bro was in the World Series and he was raking. Him and Adolfo Tia are the main reasons they beat the Astros in the ALCS. There's no reason why Evan Carter doesn't come out, hit 30 home runs, hit 280, and easily win Offensive Rookie. There's a few different guys I could have shout out for Rookie of the Year. I am going to go one of the Tigers guys. Shout out Parker Meadows. Best I can do for you, buddy. For the Cy Young Awards, these are the awards that I feel extremely confident in, and I think these are good. If I'm going to be right about any of them, I think these are going to be it. For the American League, I said the Mariners have 3 or 4 guys who could be in the Cy Young conversation. I had to pick one of them. I'm all in on this rotation. I'm going George Kirby. I think he's going to finish the year as the ace for the staff. I think Luis Castillo is great. I think Logan Gilbert's great. But I think George Kirby is going to be the best pitcher of this rotation. He's going to come out and show the world he is here and here to stay. And dark horse guy, Shane Bieber, I know he's played one game and it was against the A's, but he looked dominant. And if he can continue that throughout the year, then maybe. For the National League of Cy Young, I thought about picking Bryce Harper for MVP. Decided not to. Why not be biased? Zach Wheeler needs his Cy Young. Zach Wheeler has been a top 3 pitcher in baseball, and no one has acknowledged it. He has been phenomenal basically since 2021, and he has been ridiculous. He started a little slow last season, but he picked it up quick. The defense from Kyle Schwarber didn't help. But Zach Wheeler is going to be all in this year. His first start was opening day. His first opening day start for the Phillies. He went 6 scoreless innings against the Braves. The second game, they scored 11. They scored 7 after Wheeler got pulled. If Zach Wheeler ever gets hurt, we are not winning games. I refuse to accept it. I'm going to say, he's the best pitcher in baseball, and he's going to win his Cy Young finally. My backup guy, I'm going to say Hunter Green. I'm all in on the Reds on winning games. Hunter Green is going to come in and be a candidate. He's going to get Cy Young votes. He's going to finish top 7 for Cy Young. That's my hot take. Boom.
All right, so with that, we are going to shift to the end of the NBA season along with March Madness and give our thoughts there. But we will get back to baseball at the end of the episode with our fun and game segment. The NBA season is nearing its conclusion. We've got a couple more weeks of the regular season before we get into the playoffs. Some of these playoff spots are being finalized along with the awards. I'll start with the Eastern Conference. The Celtics have already clinched the number 1 seed. I've said it since the beginning of the year. I think they're on a tier of their own in the Eastern Conference, and I don't really anticipate that changing going into the playoffs. Some other notable things here include the Cavs, who have not been playing all that well as of recent. They're still in 3rd, but they're only 3.5 games out of 7th. I think the Sixers could be interesting. They are currently in 8th place, but Joel Embiid is likely to return this week, and I think the loss of Embiid and their struggles show that Joel Embiid would have deserved to win the MVP this year had he stayed healthy. And this is coming from someone who feels like that he shouldn't have won it last year. Had he been healthy this year, I think he would have been the clear winner. Obviously, that is not the case, but his value to that team is clearly being shown, and I'm curious to see if he can get them to one of those top 6 spots by the end of the regular season. They've only got 7 games to do it, so He's going to need to perform, but I think it's possible. As for the Western Conference, Oklahoma City is currently in first place, but there's 3 teams within a game. Denver's right there. Minnesota's right there as well. The Clippers have tailed off quite a bit. They have won 3 in a row, so they're starting to play a little bit better. But since the All-Star break, they have been very shaky, and I am concerned for them that this could continue into the playoffs, especially if they're matched up with the Dallas Mavericks in the first round, who are red hot. The Mavericks have won 7 in a row. Luka's been playing out of his mind. And this Mavericks team looks like one of the more well-constructed Luka rosters throughout his career. They've got a secondary ball handler and scorer with Kyrie Irving, and they've got the right role players around him, down low. Guys like Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington. They've surrounded Luka with good interior players who can defend the rim on defense, and on offense, they can grab boards, they can be lob threats. I really like the way that Dallas has constructed this team, and right now I feel more confident in Dallas making a run in the playoffs than the Clippers. The Clippers, I think, are 4th in title odds, but I don't even think they'd be 4th amongst the teams in the Western Conference who had the best chance to do so. And again, this is coming from someone who wants to see the Clippers do well, but I've got concerns for them. As for lower in the standings, right now, New Orleans is in 6th. I know you were high on them at the beginning of the year. It appears that you have nailed that one. The Kings are right there. The Suns are right there. The Rockets have been unbelievable. Jalen Green, where has this come from? Ever since that it was announced that he was having a child, he's clearly made sure he's getting those child support payments in. By the way, he's played in the month of March trying to ensure a big contract extension. They've been playing great. They could sneak into one of those playoff spots, knocking off probably Golden State. Whether it happens or not, I don't think it changes too much in the West. I think there's only a few teams in this conference who really could make a run. Denver, I think, is the clear favorite, and then I think in the second tier, in some order, is OKC, Minnesota, Dallas, and I guess the Clippers. As for the awards, the MVP race, I feel like it was one of the more interesting ones of the last few seasons. It seems like Nikola Jokic has locked up the award over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here at the end. Luka Doncic, Giannis, to a lesser extent, Tatum was in the running as well. But I have no issue giving it to Jokic. He's been fantastic again this year. I think he deserved to win it last year. So I feel like he's kind of getting this one back. Whereas Embiid, I think, would have deserved to win it this year had he been healthy the entire season. So I guess it all kind of worked out.
I think I had a couple takes for a guy that doesn't know a lot about basketball, and I think I did pretty damn good. I mean, Western Conference, I basically said the Warriors are going to be bad. They're not as bad as I thought they're going to be, but I think I had them finishing outside the top 10, and they're currently 10th, and they might finish outside the top 10, so I kind of nailed that one on the head. I know it was kind of inevitable that the Warriors were going to fall off, basically, but this is one of the hardest falls we've seen, and they are just not good. The Lakers, after getting to, I think, the Western Conference Finals, they are barely above 500. They're the 9 seed right now. Just not playing well. The Suns' big three have kind of been all right at best. I know they handle the Pelicans. Zion Williams hasn't been, like, phenomenal, but he's been pretty good and helped them get into the top 6 seeds right now. I think for the West, though, it's going to come down to probably just the Nuggets. And I think I said it last time. I said basically it's going to be the Nuggets and going to be the Celtics. And I think it's most likely what we're going to see. I think Jokic and Murray are going to be too much for everyone else to handle. I know the T-Wolves have a phenomenal defense, but I think they aren't ready yet for the playoffs. I think the Thunder are too young of a team to go out and make a run. I think they're really good and have the best shot against the Nuggets, but I don't think they have anyone that's going to be able to beat Jokic. And I said, it's been like a while since the last episode we did, but for the Mavericks, I said if they can go on a run, they can get a top 6 seed, Luka Doncic should win MVP. They're currently the 5th seed. They've won 7 in a row, and Luka is playing like an MVP. Luka should easily be the MVP. And if Jokic gets it, that's fine. I'm not going to ignore that or say it's wrong because it's Jokic, right? I'm not going to be mad at that. But Luka has yet to get his, and I think he needs to get his. This is the best time for him to do it because the Mavs are a top 6 seed. They're playing phenomenal. They have one of the best shots still to get into the finals. I mean, a few years ago they made it to the Western Conference Finals, so why not go out and try and do something? They might just lose to the Nuggets in the finals, but hey, who knows? As for the East, it is all Celtics, and that's about it. The Bucks have been playing a lot better since the last time we did this, but they have Doc Rivers, and that should end the conversation there. The Cavs have cooled off. The Knicks are kind of still steadily where they're at. The Magic have kind of shot up and gotten to the top 6 seeds or the 5 right now, but they're too young of a team to kind of go out and do anything against the Celtics. I still think they're going to be a really good team for the future. And you mentioned the Sixers. They are not good without Joel Embiid. Who would have thought? Joel Embiid is amazing. Need him back pretty desperately. Also, shout out Wemby. He's really damn good.
Yes, shout out Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
He is not from this planet. So, along with the NBA season, we've just gotten through the end of March, which means March Madness. We are down to 4. The Final Four national championship, of course, will be this weekend. We never did have time to make, official bracket predictions here on the podcast, and thank goodness we didn't, because my bracket ended up aging horribly. My champion lost in the Sweet 16, although, to be fair, if Jamal Shead doesn't get hurt, I think Houston would probably still be alive. I only got one team right in the Final Four. Shout out Zach Edey and Purdue. They'll be going up against the 11th-seeded NC State, who has been the darlings of this tournament. They have won 9 games in the last 20 days, dating back to the ACC tournament. They were the 10th seed for the ACC. They finished under 500 in conference through ACC play this year, yet they go on a big run. They win the conference tournament, and then they rattle off 4 in a row. And it's not like they've played bad teams either. They played Texas Tech in the first round from the Big 12, which obviously has a ton of great schools. In the second round, their closest game of the tournament, ironically, was with 14th-seeded Oakland. Who would have thought? In the Sweet 16, 2-seeded Marquette. Now, I'm a Marquette hater because I think Shaka Smart, the coach, is kind of the dork. But they still beat a 2-seed, even though Shaka Smart is a notorious March Madness choker. And then they come from behind and beat a very talented Duke team in the Elite Eight. DJ Burns has so much aura. He's such a fun player. They've got a good group around him. DJ Horn, the graduate guard, has played really well. Does the run end for NC State? Unfortunately, it does. No one's been able to defend Zach Edey. I don't think DJ Burns and company will be able to. So I have Purdue going to the national championship on that side of the bracket. And then on the other side, we've got the heavy favorites, the UConn Huskies, who last year in the tournament as a 4 seed steamrolled everybody. They won by an average margin of about 20. Here in this year's tournament, the number 1 overall seed in the field, and they have not missed a beat from last year. Their first 3 games, they blew everybody out. In the Elite Eight on Saturday against Illinois, for the first time ever with this UConn team, the game appeared to be pretty close. It was 23-23 late in the first half. And then UConn goes on a 30-0 run. And Illinois is no slouch. They were a 3 seed. I think Illinois is absolutely good enough to win a national title. They just had to play UConn, who looks unstoppable. They'll be going up against the Crimson Tide of Alabama, who beat Clemson in the Elite Eight, with both of those teams knocking off North Carolina and Arizona, the top 2 seeds in that region. Alabama's an interesting squad because they're the type of team who historically doesn't do all that well in the tournament, and that's because of their lackluster defense, but it hasn't been an issue for them. Their defense has significantly improved over the past month or so, and offensively they've been really solid, led by transfers Mark Sears at guard, who has been probably their best player through the tournament, although Grant Nelson, the North Dakota State forward, has really stepped up. He was a little inconsistent throughout the year, but he was great in the Sweet 16 against North Carolina, and then in the Elite Eight against Clemson. Alabama's a really fun team. They've got some good players, but they have to play against UConn. UConn has blown out everybody, and I have no reason to think that UConn's not going to be able to keep it going. I hate to be chalky, but I've got the 2 1 seeds, UConn and Purdue, in the national title game, and I think this is probably the most exciting matchup we could get. I'm rooting for NC State because it would be really fun, but the best matchup we can get is UConn and Purdue. Zach Edey versus Donovan Clanyon, the 2 centers, is going to be the matchup to watch. Purdue's guard play has been really solid, especially compared to some of their recent teams that have been eliminated early in the tournament. Guys like Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer have played really well, but I cannot see anybody stopping UConn. Their guards have played really well. Tristan Newton is phenomenal. Stephon Castle is going to be a top 10 NBA pick. Role players such as Cam Spencer and Alex Caravan have been really good. And then Donovan Clanyon, the man in the middle, anchoring the defense. He's probably going to be a top 10 pick himself in this year's NBA draft. I hate to be boring, but I've got chalk the rest of the way. UConn beats Purdue in the national title of what's been a pretty fun tournament. I feel like a lot of people have thought it was kind of boring, But I don't know. I've enjoyed it. We've had enough upsets to where it's fun and interesting, but we also have a lot of good matchups and a lot of good teams while still having fun Cinderella stories such as DJ Burns and the Wolfpack.
All right. So I don't know a lot about basketball, let alone college basketball. I'm going to be completely honest. I never made a bracket. Shame on me. I know. I'll do it at some point. Next time. I know. But I'm going to do what I can. And UConn, Purdue, I would assume, are pretty good. I know about DJ Burns and NC State because it's NC State. It's fun. And realistically, it's probably going to be UConn, Purdue. I think UConn is easily the best team here, and it shouldn't be close. And I'm gonna get a little fun with it. I want to see cool things happen. I want to see fun outcomes. Let's go. I'm gonna say UConn and NC State. I have nothing going off of this except pure vibes. NC State has all the vibes. They're here. The championship, this is the equivalent of like Nuggets Heat finals from last season. UConn is the Nuggets. They're unstoppable, the best team ever. Not ever. Best team in the league or whatever. And they're gonna come out and they're gonna show, yeah, we're meant to be here. And then NC State, it's like, well, we deserve to be here because we won all those games, but we're not gonna win the finals. It's not gonna happen. UConn is too good. Before going into this, I did know about the UConn 30-0 run against Illinois. That's ridiculous. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, UConn's winning again. Got it. Understand. And that's as far as I'm going to go. It's going to be probably Purdue UConn, but I'm going to say NC State wins off of pure vibes, and it's fun. And that's literally all I got because I got nothing for y'all. If you want basketball, you talk to Octi and Octi alone.
All right, so with that, we're going to get to our fun and game segment. And with MLB opening day last week, we have our baseball-themed trivia, which I'm excited to dive into right now. All right, so we have each made 5 MLB trivia-related questions. We're not going to waste any time. I will ask the first one. So in the 2010s, between 2010 and 2019, which team has won the least amount of regular season games in that stretch?
Okay. So I can't go straight off based on who sucks now. Unless... Ooh. Okay. I don't think it's the Phillies, but I know we didn't do anything between like 2012 until 2019.
Yeah,
I feel like,
the
though, this is a trick question. I'm going to say the Angels. That's my gut decision because they always suck. They made the playoffs, one time? So that's my first guess. I'm saying Angels.
This surprises me, but the Angels are actually in the top half, and they finished the 2010s above 500.
Really? Okay,
I wouldn't have expected that because
no good guess.
They only made the playoffs once, you're right, but they finished 822 and 798.
Huh. Well, alrighty then. Mike Trout is that good, guys.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Alright, who sucks? I know the A's were always bad, but they've only been really bad recently, though. Not super long. The Twins have always been bad, though. They haven't made the playoffs since, like, 2004. No, they made the playoffs. They never won a game. Part of me wants to say the Rangers, but I know they had a few years in the playoffs. Mariners would make sense. Who just always gets the first overall pick? I know the Nationals got it a few times. They had Strasburg. They had Harper. But then they went on the run in 2019. They made it a few other times. Baseball is such a year-by-year sport. This is honestly difficult. Okay. I can eliminate a few guys. It's not the Dodgers, not the Giants. It might be the Padres. Ooh. I'm going to throw the Padres out there as a guess. I like that.
That's a good guess. They had the second least amount of wins.
Oh, my God.
There you go. Now you're warming up, but not quite.
We're there. Okay. I don't think it's the Cardinals because Albert Pujols and Yachty are too good. Ooh, it might be the Reds because besides Joey Votto, who do they really have? I'm going to throw the Reds out there.
It is not the Reds. They're like 20th.
Okay.
Maybe probably more like
So they're
23rd.
lower
It's not like a list by number, but they're like high 20s. or I guess low 20s.
Okay. I know the Diamondbacks had a lot of years where they were just awful, but like I know they had Paul Goldschmidt for a while, so they might have did some things there. But I'll throw the D-backs out there for now.
The Diamondbacks are pretty much smack dab in the middle. I would have thought they would have been lower too, to be honest, but
yeah, I mean they in like 2019 or so they lost like 90 games or like 2020.
They had some really bad years at the end.
Bad, yeah. For once, I think it's not the White Sox because I think they're actually pretty good in the 2010s, like Mark Buehler and whatnot. Part of me wants to say the Rangers still, but they. You know what? I think I'm thinking too hard. I'm just gonna throw the A's out there. I'm thinking too hard.
The Oakland Athletics are in the top 10. They were good this decade. They were good.
I knew that, but like my gut is like annoying me right now. Who in the hell could it be? Oh wait, it'd be funny. Is it the Mets? That'd be really funny.
I wish it was the Mets. It's not. They're they're like slightly below average. That would be hilarious.
Okay.
But they did make the World Series.
The Pirates are good for a little bit, but it wasn't like winning division good. It was like wild card good. The Cubs were good for a while with their trio. I already guessed the Reds. Might be the Brewers. Screw it. I'm putting the Brewers out there.
The Brewers are... I feel like you've guessed more teams towards the top half of the list than the bottom half. The Brewers are sandwiched between Oakland and the Angels.
See, here's the thing. Because baseball is a year-by-year sport. We saw the Yankees win the division and win 90 games, and then they went below 500. Like, what is this sport? I still don't think it's the Phillies, even though it'd be funny if you maybe say the Phillies had the worst record in the 2010s. But again, I don't think it's them. You know what? I should ask you a hint. Is it AL or NL?
National League.
Okay, well, I'm looking in the wrong spot. I was looking at AL Central. Okay. It's not the Braves, I don't think. I think the Phillies were always like 70, 80 win teams, and they just never did anything with them. So I don't think it's them. I already guessed the Mets. It could be the Marlins, actually. Because they've only... Wait a minute. The Marlins only made the playoffs 4 times. 2 of them were in the 2020s. The other 2, they won the World Series, and that wasn't the 2010s. The Marlins.
There you go. It's the Marlins. 707 wins and 911 losses. Don't tell George Bush. They had the least amount of wins, followed by the Padres, the White Sox, the Rockies, and the Orioles.
The Orioles were bad for a while. Huh?
Yes. Interestingly, the Royals had the 7th worst, despite making the World Series twice. But those were actually their only 2 playoff appearances, and they made the World Series both times.
Huh. Well, they're almost the Marlins. All right. So, there's a lot of good players in baseball. And a lot of them, when you are good, you get hits. So, can you name the top 5 players in hits for 2023?
Ooh, okay. Luis Arraez.
Luis Arraez is number 3.
Ronald Acuna. His average was awfully high.
He's number 1.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts is not on this list. He's 6th, though, I believe.
Okay. Corey Seager was healthy. I feel like his average is high enough. What about Corey Seager?
I think he missed the first 2 months of
oh, that's right. He did.
May or so.
He did. You know who didn't miss time though? His middle infield partner, Marcus Semien.
Marcus Semien is a great pull. He's number 4.
Dang! I know he led the league in at bats because he does not miss games. So what? I need 2 and 5.
He played every game. Yeah, you need 2 and 5.
Okay. Who else would have been super high in average? Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman's number 2.
Okay. One more. Who am I missing? I know I said his season was a little overrated, but what about Julio Rodriguez?
I was waiting for you to do that because he was killing it. He is indeed number 5.
Bang! Wow, I killed that one. All right, so we're actually going to stay on the theme of hits, and we're going to stay on the theme of my last guess of the 2010s. Which player had the most hits between 2010 and 2019. And this list was actually a lot more interesting than I would have expected.
Okay. All right. I feel like I need to start off with this. Actually, I have two guys in my head right now. I know he didn't debut till like 2011 or so, but is Mike Trout at least on this list?
Mike Trout, wow, I don't even see him in the top like 25. No, he is not.
Painful. Here. All right. I think my first guess is a better guess. Joey Votto.
Joey Votto is 9th. That is a better guess, but he is not the answer.
All right. Now I got to think harder. Okay.
His average is amongst the highest, though. But I guess he didn't play as many games as some of these other guys.
I guess not. He does get hurt every now and then. All right. I got to think. Who was like a legend in the 2010s? Wait a minute. When did he retire? When did Ichiro retire? I have no idea. I'm going to throw Ichiro out there because, yeah.
Ichiro is also not on the top like 25 to 30.
God. Okay. I gotta think back. I don't remember when. No, the Yankees guys wouldn't be there. They retired too early. Who is just really good for the 20? Okay, well maybe some players are still playing. What about Freeman?
Freddie Freeman is like 15th. Not a bad guess though.
I'm on the list at least.
We're on the board. We hit the backboard.
Hey! Don't forget Votto was 9th. I was on there.
Votto hit the rim.
Hey, I'm getting there. God. All right. Can I get a conference?
This guy is known for playing in the American League.
Known for playing. So he moved around. God, my issue is I don't know when people retired. Is Miggy here?
Miggy is in 6th. Not a bad guess.
Okay, I'm getting there. I don't think it'd be anyone in the Central. My best guess was Miggy. Jerry M's too young. The Twins for poverty. The Royals were only good for 2 years. The White Sox suck. I don't think anyone would be there. God, who else would be good here? What about? I know you said hits. I know this guy's only enough for home runs, but what about Big Papi? What about Ortiz?
David Ortiz probably would have retired too soon. Although he can't be too low in home runs.
He did retire in 16.
Yeah, 2016, where he was like the best hitter in the AL his last year. Don't forget, he was nasty.
All right, give me like 15 seconds, and I'll be there in like real quick. I gotta do something real quick. All right, we're back. I'm alive. All right. Now
He just Googled it, guys. Don't
who's
worry.
good? I was not Googling it, guys. I swear. When would... God, I cannot think of anyone as good. Rangers, I don't think. Altuve, I don't think debuted early enough. Angels of Poverty. I can't think of anyone that was good on the A's that would have done that. I'm struggling here. I'll throw him out there, Griffey, but I don't. When did he retire?
He retired like 2009. I think he has 0 hits in the 2010s.
I didn't know when he retired. That was my issue. Okay, hey, no, he retired in 2010. I checked. Hey, he has hits in 2010.
Okay, there. That ball, that shot didn't hit the rim or the backboard. It went out of the stadium.
Hey, he has 18 hits in 2010. All right.
Good for
I'm on.
Good for him.
There. All right. Can I do a division because I am struggling here.
Okay, I'll say this. This player is known for playing on 2 teams: AL East, AL West.
AL East and West. Okay. It's not. Is it A-Rod?
No, I think he would have retired too early.
No. That's what I thought earlier. I thought of him and Jeter, but you said that. I saw Yankees Mariners. Is there a guy that went from like the Astros over? I don't think so. God, I'm losing it here. Okay, they need to be like on like the list. God, I cannot think of a single. I'm trying to think back. I don't know what teams he was on, but was Adam Jones around that era?
Wow, that's a good pull. He's not the answer, but he's third.
God.
I didn't think you'd get anybody in the top 5 before number 1. Number 1 of the guys in the top 5, number 1's the best player here.
Okay. Who's just good at contact? Who's good at hits? God. Oh my God, it's in my head. It's Cano, isn't it?
It's Robinson Cano. There you go. The rest of the list is really weird, though. So in second, we have Nick Markakis. In third, we have Adam Jones, who I'm now learning hit 251 home runs in the 2010s. Since when was he that good of a power hitter? He was 5th in home runs in the decade. Fourth is Starlin Castro. And 5th is a tie between Miggy and Elvis Andrus. Weird group.
That won a list. All right. Hopefully this doesn't take us too long. There's a lot of really good rookies, a lot of them hailing from other regions. But who was the youngest to ever win Rookie of the Year, NL or NL?
NL or NL. Okay. I wonder which.
I said AL. Relax.
Well, Ronald Acuna was 20 when he won it, so we'll start there.
It is not Ronald Acuna Jr.
So it has to be a teenager, which means they had to have played like forever ago. Did this guy play before World War II?
No.
Okay.
There are 2 answers, and neither of them were before World War II.
Okay. Dwight Gooden made the All-Star team at 19 years old. I learned this last week. What about him?
Well, that sucks, because that is one of the answers.
Yes.
The other one was a lot easier. If you want, you can try and get it.
Okay. Is this guy in the National League too?
He's been in the National League his entire career.
Okay. Shout out wherever I got that Doc Gooden information, by the way. I would have never figured that one out. Who's like a super obvious guy? Oh, Miggy. He was like 19, 20. What about him?
It's not Miggy. I think he might have been 20.
Okay. Hank Aaron? Willie Mays?
Not them. You're going a little further back.
Okay, so it's more recent.
More recent.
Ooh, what about Albert Pujols?
Nah, Pujols.
I think he was a little bit older, but he was insane right off the bat. Who else could it be? I've gone through like every team. I need another hint.
He is known for the NL East.
Okay. I don't think it's gonna be a Marlin. Well, Bryce Harper.
There it is.
Yeah, he did start as like a 19-year-old.
I think he was an All-Star at 19.
I think he was, yeah. Okay, you're like following my questions because my next one has to do with rookies. Name the last 5 NL and AL Rookie of the Years.
Okay, now let's see if I can remember people because some of them just suck afterward. All right, so National League. Last year was Corbin Carroll.
Here's one.
All right, now I'm already forgetting who won it before. Jesus Christ. My brain hurts. National League. I know Jonathan India won it.
Yep.
I think that was 2021. Yep, he's in there.
Yep.
I have no idea who won it in 2020. That year is a blur to me. I don't think Suzuki won an award.
Nope.
There's Michael Harris.
Michael Harris is 22. Yep.
All right. I don't know if this is within 5 years, but I think Pete Alonso won like 2018.
2019. That's within 5. There you go.
Boom. I'm missing just 2020 then?
Yes.
God. Okay. Who won Rookie of the Year in 2020s? I have no idea. That year is a blur. I'm gonna go to the AR for a little bit. Gunnar Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
Did Adley win it for his year?
Adley did not win it.
No, he didn't. Okay. What's his name on the Mariners? What was his name? He was on the Guardian series. He's on the D-backs. It's Kyle something, and I don't remember his name.
You're getting warm.
I know I'm warm. I just can't remember the dude's name for the life of me. Kyle Lewis.
Kyle Lewis. I'm surprised that's the next one you would have gotten, but yes, Kyle Lewis, 2020.
Because I went to Mariners, and I don't know why, but he lost my head. Because I also think Julio is for the year before Gunnar.
Yes. Didn't think you'd get Kyle Lewis before J-Rod, but here we are.
Who would have thought? I can name Kyle Lewis, but I can't think of Robinson Cano for the life of me. And then I think Arozarena won it in India's year.
Yep.
And then Pete Alonso's year was Yordan.
Yes.
Think.
So we just need 2020 for the NL.
God, who was it? They're right alongside Kyle Lewis of all people. Oh, it was Devin Williams.
Devin Williams, good poll, good work.
See, I can do that, but I can't name a maybe Hall of Famer in my life. So I'm gonna stick with awards here. I'm gonna go to the Cy Young Award. And last season we saw Garrett Cole win the Cy Young unanimously. We've seen multiple do it, but who was the last to do it in the National League?
Ooh, okay. Clayton Kershaw.
I believe he was the second most recent.
Jacob deGrom.
It's not DeGrom.
It's not. He never would have done it? Wow. If it's not Max Scherzer?
It's not Max Scherzer.
Who else would have won one? Did Corbin Burns ever win a Cy Young? I can't imagine he did it unanimously. It's not Corbin Burns, is it?
Corbin Burns did win a Cy Young in 2021,
I thought so.
but it was not unanimous.
Okay, I figured. Who could this be? Did Kyle Hendricks win that Cy Young that one year? I don't think he can't be the answer. Ooh, I know it. Jake Arrieta.
Is not Jake Arrieta.
Oh, okay. That he did have that crazy year, but wow. Okay, if it's not him, who else could it be? Did Sandy Alcantara win it unanimously?
Sandy Alcantara won unanimously.
Good for him.
2022.
Wow, would not have guessed that.
I was curious about DeGrom, and I checked. He never won it unanimously.
Huh. Okay, next up. So there are 6 teams in MLB history who have had the misfortune of making the postseason less than 9 times in their franchise's history. Can you name the 6?
Okay. Marlins is definitely on there.
The Marlins is correct. They are in dead last with 4.
Yep. Are the Twins on there?
They are not. The Twins have. Oh wow, they're up there. Unless I missed.
See,
Oh, I
because
must
I
have
keep
missed
thinking
them.
they missed the playoffs for 20 years. They just didn't win a game in 20 years. That's what it was.
Why are the Twins not showing? Well, the Twins are not the answer. I can't find them for whatever reason, but it's not them.
All right, now who sucks? I'll throw the Rockies out there.
Rockies are tied for second to least with 5.
There we go. Is the Padres on there? They're pretty bad.
Padres are at 7. There's 3.
All right, it's not Dodgers, not Giants. Is it Diamondbacks?
Diamondbacks also only have 7. You're at 4. 2 more to go.
Bang. All right, not the Cardinals. Oh, might be the. Is it the Cubs? Did they make it too much in 1930s?
Yes, the Cubs have made it too much. They've made it 21 times, which is towards the top.
Because in my fairness, they didn't do it for like 100 years.
And
So I thought
one spot below the Cubs is the Twins for what it's worth at 18. There they are.
Okay, so it's not too far off. Braves is a no. Are we counting Nationals and Expos as one thing?
The Nationals and Expos have only made it 6 times. I assume this means together. So yes, they are the next one. Need one more.
Kind of sad. All right, what am I missing here? I don't think it's any. Ooh, wait. The Rays.
The Rays are not the answer. They have made it 9 times.
No. Man, 9 times? Jesus.
They've made it a lot this
They're
decade.
I've noticed they're what, 20 years old?
I think they're like at least 25 at this point. 1998.
They joined the same year the D-backs did.
Well, the Diamondbacks are worse, clearly.
I've noticed.
Although I guess they have a
I can
ring
only
and the
think
Rays
of
don't.
2
So.
times the Rays did it. Alright. Is the White Sox on there? I know they have 1.
The White Sox have made it 11 times.
I saw this team just now. Could it possibly be the Mariners?
It is the Mariners. They have only made it 5 times,
we go.
believe it or not, with all the great players they've had in their history. 5 times.
Man, they need a ring.
They
So
do.
bad.
This is the year. Book it.
I hope so. It's here. Alright. I'm going to keep going with stats. I'm going to continue with 2023. Can you name the top 3 players in walks last season for
Walks?
position players?
Ooh, Juan Soto's got to be there.
Juan Soto is number 1.
Okay. This is where things get fun. Who else would be there in walks? Okay. Let's think. Who would be there at the top? What about Corey Seager? Oh wait, no, he missed 2 months. It's not him.
Year. Well, there you go. He wasn't on there either way.
Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber is number 2.
Okay. Who else would be up there in walks? I know it's not him, but Adley Rutschman does have good plate discipline.
It was not Adley Rutschman.
Did not think so. No, it's not him. It's probably not Marcus Semien, but again, he doesn't miss time. What about Marcus Semien?
It is not Marcus Semien, no.
Okay. What about Shohei Ohtani?
It is neither Shohei Ohtani.
Okay. Mike Trout probably did not play enough, but I'll guess him anyway to be safe.
No, he was hurt too much.
I figured. What about Freddie Freeman?
No, but you're getting a little closer with that guess.
Okay. He wasn't all that good last year, but what about Paul Goldschmidt?
It's not Paul Goldschmidt. I'll tell you right now, you're on the right track with the position.
Okay, first base. What about Nathaniel Lowe? Let's get weird.
I like the guess, but no.
Okay. Pete Alonso.
You're getting warmer, but no.
Okay, we're getting close. I can feel it. Who else will be a first baseman who's Oh, Yandy Diaz. Bang, it has to be him.
I think he was like 4th or 5th.
Ah, jeez. Okay, I felt good about that guess.
I would have too.
What about Josh Naylor?
I don't know where he is on that list, but no, you're thinking a little too hard there, buddy.
Okay, so it's probably more of like a super household name is what I'm getting at. I'll guess Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I feel like it wouldn't be him, but we'll throw out the guess.
No.
I did not think so. His offensive numbers were not good enough. Who else could it be at first base? I almost said Rhys Hoskins, but he would have 0. It can't be him.
Yeah, no, he didn't play.
Who am I missing? Ryan Noda.
I don't know what these polls are. You're missing a main dude.
Okay. Well, Ryan Noda does have great plate discipline. So, I felt like reasonably good about that guess. But who would I be forgetting? Let's think. Who am I missing? I almost want to say Bryce Harper, but again, he would not have... Oh, Matt Olson. Jesus Christ.
There it is.
Jeez. Why did that take so long? Oh, my goodness.
Hey, you forget Matt Olson. I forget Robinson Cano.
Oh, that was so obvious, too. Jeez. Okay.
It's just like the number 1 or 2 best first baseman in the league. That's all. That's all it is.
Okay. I'm saving this one for last. A few months ago in the grid game, I was tormented with MLB players and where they went to school. We're flipping it around this time. I need you to
did the same to me.
I know, but I don't care. I need you to give me the last 5 number 1 overall picks who would have come out of college and where they went to school.
Oh, God. Okay. I can do it last year. That was Paul Skeens, and he went to LSU.
There's one.
That's as far as I've got. Well, because the previous year was Jackson Holiday.
Jackson Holiday, but he did not go to college, so he does not count.
He went to high school, yeah. Okay. All right. How far back does this go?
This is 2018. The next 4 number 1 picks all came from college.
Okay. This is weird, but I'm pretty sure 2018. I know the 3rd pick, but I don't know the 1st pick, which is.
Wasn't that the Alec Boehm year? Was he 3rd?
I thought it was Kyle Tucker. I know he was 3rd pick. I don't know what year it was though.
I don't think it was 2018 because I saw like the 2018 like top 10 list and it was oddly really bad. Let me see. I feel like that was Boehm's year. Yeah, Alec Boehm, 3rd overall, Wichita State. Look at me.
Hey, we cook.
I think Kyle Tucker probably would have been a little before that. And I could not tell you where Kyle Tucker went to school.
I don't know where he went to school. I just checked. He was 2015.
Oh wow, that's earlier than I thought.
All right. Who went first overall? That's the good question. It's all the white guys. It's none of the international guys.
All 4 of these players are white.
Okay, wait. I do know one. Adley Rutschman. He went to Oregon State, I think.
Oregon State, yes. He was the kicker for Oregon State, and he robbed Christian McCaffrey of a kick return touchdown. Fun fact of the day.
He did, yep.
Yes, classic. But he's 2019. There you go.
All right, so I need 3 more. Okay, who was before Holiday? That was Henry Davis, I think.
Yes, it was.
Could not tell you what school he went to.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's a red school, and they're in the ACC, and they're not in the Final Four. They're not even close to the Final Four. They're like the Final Four of bad power conference basketball teams, if anything.
Got it. All right. What kind of red are we talking? That's the
Like
question.
red.
Red. That's a great question. What about red? There's a lot of reds. That's an issue. What about... Isn't Louisville, I think, in the
Louisville, yes. That's where Henry Davis went.
God, imagine, like, NFL teams are taking guys, first of all, from Oregon State and stuff. Like, that'd be funny. Louisville, that goes number 1. Not named Lamar Jackson.
To be fair, we did
Who
have
else
Central
went first?
Michigan go number 1 a decade ago.
Oh, we did. No, and we had, what, Georgia Tech go number 2
Yeah.
2 decades ago. All right. Who sucks? Who's got a first round pick?
All right, we've got
Oh
two
God,
more.
I should know this because. Okay, I'm gonna be a little nutty here. All right, it's gotta be the Tigers. I've done my franchise with them.
Perhaps.
Did Torque go first overall?
Yes, he did. 2020. Where did he go to school though?
Oh God, I have no idea. Not at all.
West Coast, or maybe not. Well, maybe not the coast, but like West. Pac-12, or I guess what was the Pac-12?
All right, who's in the Pac-12? He didn't go to Oregon State with
No,
Adley, did he?
that would have been cool,
Oh,
but he
okay.
did not.
That would be cool. Did he go to Cal?
Nope. You're getting, I guess, closer in location though.
Okay. I don't see if you went to Oregon, you would be raving about it because he's on your team. So it's not Oregon. I don't think it's Washington. Did he go to Arizona? I think
You're
maybe.
getting warmer, but it's not Arizona.
Warmer.
We're on the right track.
Is it Arizona State?
Yes, it is.
Bang! I totally knew that, guys. All right.
One more.
Because 2017 was Royce Lewis, I think.
Mhm. Yes, it was.
So the year after, because oh my, is this still the Tigers? That's Mize, isn't it? From I don't know the school.
SEC. I think
Yeah,
his team won the College World Series. Not that would probably help. I'm not even sure if they did. That's a guess.
I thought they might have. It was Auburn, I think.
There you go.
See, I kind of knew that one. I think you've mentioned that one before.
So there's your 5.
All right.
We did it.
God, that hurt. All right, mine's not as bad. My last question, I went with walks. I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. You got Blake Snell in the Giants series. He walks too many people. We want guys that don't walk. I need the top 5 guys and least walks allowed.
Well, George Kirby's number 1. That's for sure.
Absolutely, he had like 13 guys, I think.
13. I did not. There's no way it's that low.
Well, no, it was low, dude. Hold on.
It couldn't have been 13. That's absurd.
Oh yeah, no, he's the guru of not walking guys. I'm double checking this.
I feel like it's got to be at least in the
Walks
20s
don't.
or 30s.
I need qualified pitchers. Whee! Oh, I'm sorry. It was 19. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's still ridiculous. Who else would be next? I've got to think of who would be really, like, especially really good in MLB The Show Sim because of how important walks per 9 is.
I think all of these guys are good.
I would hope so. What about Zach Wheeler?
Zach Wheeler is tied for 6th.
Oh, just missed. Okay. Let's go with I know he wasn't great last year, but what about Shane Bieber?
Shane Bieber. He's not top 5. I don't know where he is on this list. I'm scrolling. I'm in like the 20s. I have no idea where Shane Bieber is.
Okay. Logan Webb has to be in the top 5 for sure. There's no way he's not.
Logan Webb is number 3.
Okay. I figured there was a chance maybe he pitched too many innings, but I figured he'd be there. Let's pick... What about Joe Ryan? Let's get weird.
As much as I love him, I have no idea where he is on this list. He's not top 5.
Okay. Let's stick with guys who would have been in that rotation last year. What about Sonny Gray?
Not top 5, but I think he's at least in the top 20. Or he's tied for 21st. Close enough.
Okay. Joe Musgrove doesn't allow too many walks. What about him? I don't know if he'd be top 5, but...
Not top 5. I don't know where he's at.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking.
What about Zach Gallen?
Zach Gallen, he's not top 5, but he's 12th.
Okay, not bad.
You're getting there.
Who else could it be? What about Framber Valdez?
I don't know where he's at.
Okay, now we're off the board a little bit. Let's get back on the board. Let's pick. I have what, 2 so far?
You need number 2, number 4, and number 5.
Okay, that's what I thought. What about Kyle Bradish?
He was 8th.
Okay, I feel like Corbin Burns wouldn't be there, but I might as well guess him.
No, Corbin Burns is not here. Where is he? I have no idea. I have no idea.
What about Kyle Hendricks?
I do not even see him on the top 20.
Okay.
Side note, I just saw this. Kyle Gibson is tied for 21st.
Okay. Good for Kyle Gibson.
He's tied with Sonny Gray and Kevin Gossman. What?
Okay.
What a guy.
Who am I missing? Are they like obvious ones?
These are all really good pitchers. None of them are aces for their team, except maybe. No, one of them is an ace. Two of them aren't.
Well, they're all quite
still,
good.
like, good.
Okay.
No, these are all like really good, like all-star players.
Okay. The Dodgers have like 10 good pitchers, but I feel like it can't really be them because I don't think Shohei Ohtani would be the answer, and I feel like everybody else there like gets hurt all the time. Is it someone who's on the Dodgers?
Yeah, I'll say. No, it's not the Dodgers.
Okay, I did not think so.
There's 2 of them that are in the AL, and then one of them is in the NL. The ace is in the NL, I'll tell you that.
Ooh, okay. I don't think it'd be anybody in the NL West. In the Central barely has ace. Oh, Brandon Woodruff. What about him?
He hasn't played in over a year.
He didn't play last year? Am I blanking?
No, he's dying of arm cancer right now. Not actual cancer. He's got like Tommy John. He's been broken.
I didn't realize he missed like all of last year. I could have sworn he played at least a little bit. Okay.
He might have played a little bit.
And what about
67 innings?
Okay. Well, he did play, but that obviously wouldn't qualify. What about his teammate, Freddie Peralta?
It is not Freddie Peralta. You're in the right division though.
Okay. It's not. I don't think it's Mitch Keller. Cubs. Justin Steele. I didn't even think of him.
There it is. Justin Steele's on number 5.
Okay, there we go. I figure it couldn't be the Pirates or the Reds. And the Cardinals, no.
Cardinals.
All right, so AL.
No.
2 good but not great pitchers. I want to say some of the guys on the Rays, but I don't know. Would Drew Rasmussen have played long enough?
I don't think he played long enough, but you're
Okay.
on the right track.
So it probably is somebody on the Rays. What about Zach Eflin?
Zach Eflin is number 2. He
Wow,
had
good for him.
24 walks all year.
Okay. So I need one more. Like a number 2. Somewhere in the American League.
I believe he is the number 2.
What if it's Logan Gilbert? That would be funny. Or Luis Castillo. Is it one of them?
It's one of those 2.
Okay. I want to get it right. I'm gonna guess Luis Castillo.
It is not Luis Castillo.
No, it's got to be Logan Gilbert.
Logan Gilbert is the answer. He's number 4.
I see the Mariners are the type. I don't blame them.
They are in.
No walks allowed in Seattle, I see.
Apparently not. 19 by Kirby is insane.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. It's not like he had like 170 innings. He had 190. He had nearly 200 innings and 19 walks.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the episode. An awfully long one today. We had a lot to go through. Nick and Air, if you want to say anything before we sayonara.
I think my brain is off at this point after doing trivia for half an hour. So, Phillies do good. Eagles draft a corner.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the episode. Hope everyone enjoyed. Plenty of content here coming with it being draft month. And yeah, peace out.